perfectly synchronizing the washing machine for the podcast.
Huh.
I have a massive headache, so as you can imagine,
Same.
it's gonna go well.
Oh yeah, and I'm sick with an unknown. See, these days you get sick and it's automatically, the
Schmolded.
the thing. It might be the thing. Have you ever sneezed so hard that you pull a muscle in your neck?
Yeah.
That happened to me like
also,
15 minutes ago.
You ever sneeze so hard that your left arm hurts?
Yes, I almost decapitated myself and yes, de-armed myself.
I took 1,800 milligrams of ibuprofen. That's the limit for a day.
Oh my God.
I recommend it.
That's insane.
And it could. It's just, it's when a headache, you have a headache, and it's like not going away. You gotta push it to the limit. Well, that's what they said. Don't exceed 1,800 per day. Wait, is that right? Hold on, let me see.
I think they mean when you're taking multiple, like, pills per day. Don't make sure the combination of those over the course of a certain time doesn't exceed that amount. Not 1,800 in one shot.
No, not in one shot. Right?
I'm kidding.
Like I took it in three shots.
3 installments. Is it possible to get like a contact? You know how you can get a contact high from somebody around you who's, doing ecstasy? Is it possible to get like a contact sickness from so much as reading an article how Chinese people are having COVID cases? Like rising COVID cases,
No, it's not possible.
So then I must be just a weirdo. Then.
Yeah. Well, you're in cold New Jersey.
I'm in cold New Jersey. I was just in
so you probably have a cold.
I was just in the super spreader environment called Lakewood. Super spreader, as in it could be anything. Where everybody cares a lot about, a whole lot of nothing when it comes to this.
Dude, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Ron Coleman just followed me.
Who's Ron Coleman?
Ron Coleman?
Mm-hmm.
He's like a famous lawyer.
Oh.
He's like a First Amendment activist.
Oh, nice.
And he was defending this like punk rock group. It's like they're all Asians. They were called the Slants.
Oh, that's that's freaking funny. Oh my God.
Right. So he was defending their right. I mean, whatever.
They called themselves the Slants. Not other people calling them slants.
Right. No.
That's hilarious.
That's what they call themselves.
That's hilarious.
So he described himself as Orthodox Jew, political conservative.
This guy, yeah. I know now who it is. Yes. Whenever I hear the name Coleman, I think of the butler from Trading Places. No. Coleman.
Oh, Coleman. Yes.
He's like, he comes into the train with dressed as the priest. With I am Inga from Sweden. Would you like meatball?
Wow. Oh, Jamie.
Can I give you my rucksack?
Rucksack?
No, dude, Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh my goodness.
You have my rucksack?
May Hashem have mercy on our neshamas. Jamie Lee Curtis. That's all I gotta say.
Yes.
It's like an example of a person who doesn't have to do anything to have that, just maintain that body. Some people are just like, that's the way they are.
I know, and it's like, although she said that she claims to have had to do many, many, many sit-ups.
I don't doubt it.
I don't for doubt True Lies.
Yeah, that's like in terms of just to be in shape and all that kind of stuff. I mean, to be, to be able to do certain things, in movies, whatever. So tell me more about this Mizrahi thing.
Mizrahi thing.
Can you play it for the folks at home?
Somebody was so mad at him that they unfollowed me just because I'm Jewish.
What the hell?
The person who I own. There was a person who followed me on Getter, and then I noticed they unfollowed me, and then I see I still was following them, And then I see, this video they posted of Rabbi Mizrahi saying that 6 billion goyim should die.
He's assuming that all Orthodox Jews are the same. This person who unfollowed you. He's assuming that you believe exactly what Mizrahi believes.
Right. He created, and I was like, this guy works, man. The Arabs must have hired Mizrahi. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's what I told Greg before, and he laughed hard.
And I laughed harder than I laughed just now because it was surprising.
Yes. That's how comedy works.
We wasted a gem. That's what we did.
Folks, most of the best stuff we waste.
Of course.
Dumb conversations.
It's in the outtakes.
Rather than, yeah. Can you imagine if there's anybody who likes anything that we say? Can you imagine what you miss when we're not recording?
That's crazy, right? Yeah, we had a great conversation when I was driving back from Lakewood after Rabbi Kessin. We spoke for like 30 minutes. That was worthy of recording, but the wind almost blew my car away off the Garden State Parkway. So,
dude, what's up with wind and cars?
I don't know. You're saying
serious issue.
You're saying cars are getting blown up. Yeah, it used to not be like that because cars were made of metal before, like pure metal.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Because it feels like you feel your car getting like...
Yeah, slammed because it's trying to be aerodynamic. They're making the way they make them with these polymers and all this kind of stuff, or partially metal, partially not. And it's trying to do this aerodynamic thing, but then when the wind starts swirling, when you're in that, I don't know, garden.
Basically, it folds it kind of like just bends.
Yeah.
Like a sail.
Yeah. It's crazy. The car just starts like flying around. Literally, like I almost like ran off the lane. I was like, this is crazy. I was like, crap, I need like two hands.
They make cars look like little lozenges now.
Little lozenges.
Every car is like a little...
Oh yeah, but one of the guys that came to the Shabbat meal, the dinner, he rented one of those minis, but like a mini. It was just ridiculous. It looked absolutely ridiculous. He looked like he was... It's just like a golf cart that somebody outfitted with like an exterior,
It looks like fun though.
It does look like fun if you're not around a Mack truck or something like that,
I know. Dude, my theory for this Getter thing was, if I can build up followers, we can have an audience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
So before, when I was posting on Getter, anything I posted got 0 likes, 0 comments, 0 anything.
Yeah.
Now I have, let me see how many followers.
Yeah.
686.
Yo, man, can you hold that thought? I need to use the boys' room.
I can. Okay.
And I'll call you back in a few minutes. Sorry about
Absolutely.
that. Sorry
What's
about
up,
that.
man?
Sorry about that. Okay.
No problems.
So
I think I was saying that I was trying to build up Getter followers.
Yes.
So that we could have an audience, right? Because we got to figure out how to spread our brilliance all over the world so that nobody misses out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So anyway, so proof of concept. When I would post on Getter, our episodes or anything, I would get absolutely 0 responses whatsoever. Nothing.
Yeah.
So now that it's starting to build up a little bit with the followers, of like 688 right now.
Whoa, that's pretty good.
So I posted, the I Know It's You video.
Yeah.
I Know It Was You. The YouTube, the one with us, the one with us talking.
Yes.
You put that was like the best thumbnail ever. That you found that moment when.
Oh yeah.
Michael Corleone grabbed Fredo.
Yeah, when they're dancing.
I know. Right, so that one got already 2 reposts and 5 likes.
Nice.
That's like unheard of for me. To me, that's like a massive proof of concept.
Listen, man, I was telling a friend of mine because my friend was like, he used to give me this lecture like, listen, man, you have this content, but if you really want to make a dent in like kind of the world and society, you got to make it everything professional and this and that. Well, the first thing I wanted to tell him was that my co-anchor doesn't want to be on camera, so that's kind of a problem. That's already the first aspect.
All right, so that's an indirect way, folks, of that's Greg's passive aggressiveness. All right, continue, please.
Yes. Well, I didn't tell him that, obviously. I was just like, listen, like, the key here is to affect people around us. We don't, whatever. But, I was just telling him that, the whole idea of, like, the Sitra Achra fights anything that's obviously can impact the world, and specifically in our case, where Torah becomes really, 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 really relevant and, I would say, alive. Like, I'm not saying it's because it's us. I'm just saying, like, I literally have not heard any rabbi or any, there's a lot of rabbis even out there with, like, shtick, right? They have a shtick, right? There's this one rabbi in Chicago who, like, he makes these short clips. He's a kiruv rabbi for, like, 2-3 minutes, but he includes, clips of movies in his Parsha videos. He does.
Anava does that.
Anava does a little bit here and there. But, like, to do, like, an entire show, a long-form podcast where we are integrating these things in a very, very deep way, and also bringing forth stuff from, like, our lives and our stuff growing up in the 80s and 90s, like, and also, like, basically showing people how, like, that's all connected to, like, Mashiach and all these kind of things. That, like, no one is doing that, not that I know of.
That's what I would want to. That's what I would dream about doing with our clips, like as we're talking about it, we're showing the scenes.
Yeah.
But that takes, like,
Well, my friend, in order for that to happen, well, I would say
we got to be doing this full time, and we got to be getting paid. We got to live.
And well, not only that, in order for physically for that to happen, you have to be on camera. It helps, but even if you don't want to be on camera,
fine, I'll be on camera.
Because anyway, you're saying if you want this to get big, people are going to be like, it's going to be like in Clayton Bigsby, show us your face.
Yeah, but then that guy's head exploded, remember? That's what I'm scared is going to happen.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, because you know why? Because, well, with you, they expect it to be Orthodox Jews. With them, they didn't expect it to be a black guy, white supremacist, a black white supremacist. It's totally, it's like surprise, it's like, except it wasn't funny. It was a different kind of surprise.
Yeah.
You know that guy in that scene, the one whose head exploded, that's actually his co-writer. I forget his name. That's Chappelle's that's his partner. It's hilarious.
I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah. He's like a stand-up guy. Oh, he's also a writer, but he did have like stand-up. Can you play the Mizrahi audio where he says the thing about 6 billion?
Right.
We got to hear this. This is, and then let's talk about what like what you said. What is Avodah Zarah? What is it?
Listen, we got to be careful. Yeah, I don't know. We got to be careful, like with Lashon Hara, but let it speak for itself.
Yeah. We're not saying anything. This is just.
I'm saying he's flat wrong.
He's wrong. That's it. Right? This is a rabbi with an opinion, and it's wrong. That's it.
And he might be a possible Arab agent, but otherwise,
I don't think he's that quite. I just think he spent too much time around very, very Harif Sephardi people. That's what I think.
That's what I'm saying. It's like at a certain point, folks, like culturally, right?
Yeah.
And it's true for European Jews.
Yeah.
It's true for Jews from the Arab world.
Yep.
So like Arab Jews from the Arab world and Jews from the European world are the same people, but we've affected culturally. Okay, and you have really you have religious Jews from the Sephardic world who are indistinguishable in their, from the Arab.
At some point you can't tell the difference between an arse and a as and a Arab guy on the street.
No, it's not even the way they look. It's the kind of stuff that they say.
I know.
It's just so callous and insane.
I know.
So here it is.
Do you know, before you do that, you know Mizrahi's Gilgul story, right?
You told me, I remember you.
He's basically, he went to this big Rav, I think it was in the city somewhere when he was first becoming Baal Tshuva, and the Rav told him that he's like, you're a Gilgul of this, when they were bringing, the Zionists from Israel were coming to Iraq to try to get the Jews to move to Israel. And they were secularizing them like crazy. So the rabbi told him, you are a Gilgul of a big anti-religious secular Zionist, and now you're in this incarnation doing the diametrical opposite. That's why you're so harif, and you're here to like really, make sure that people,
right.
adhere to stuff.
Right. and by the way, just it's going to sound crazy, just to go to his defense for a moment.
Yeah.
I know the reason why he's saying this. I just don't know if he knows it's BS or not. He may know that it is BS. He might be lying on purpose. And you know why he's doing it? Here's what I think.
Why?
He actually wants to scare people into doing tshuva.
For sure.
And he wants to scare goyim into converting to Judaism.
Or, either Judaism or just know how to,
Right. He said it plenty times. He goes, without fear, there is nothing.
Yeah.
Right? He wants to scare the world into.
You just sounded like the guy from not Bloodsport. What's the other one where he paralyzes his friend?
His brother.
Kickboxer. You sounded like the guy.
Like the kickboxer.
Like that guy, the villain. No, the big tall guy.
That Brazilian guy that they tried to make look like a Thai,
exactly. You sounded like the fake Brazilian Thai.
Okay.
I don't know.
That guy looks like my father's friend Borja, by the way. Anyway.
I bet you if you came up to him and told him that, he'd be like, "That's cool," and then he would just be like, "Can I see a picture of Borja?" And then you show him the picture, and he'd punch you in the face.
Well, he would try.
Yeah.
I would duck.
Oh.
And then I'd follow with a roundhouse.
Roundhouse.
Yeah. All right. Roadhouse. All right.
Yeah, all I can think of was Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
God, so much garbage. Right. So much garbage in our heads. My God. It's awful.
It's not garbage if we use it right.
Yeah, that's true.
One man's garbage is another man's...
It's another man's podcast.
Absolutely. And by the way, I just wanted to say, I know there's a lot of delays before we play this video, but one of the reasons why I like the low tech kind of nature of these phone calls or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's not low tech; it's actually pretty high tech.
Yeah.
Just because
it's just low tech compared
fancy, to. It's not studio. It's not this, right?
Yeah.
It's because automatically that whole setup is just instant bullshit detector.
It's instant bullshit detector. It's like when my friend sends me that Z-Dog guy, and I'm like, dude, seriously, the guy's a freaking, he's a cajoling, what is it called? A controlled opposition mouthpiece.
Right, he has, anybody where it's clear that you have a crew,
yeah,
right, and, you have a staff that's editing and doing this kind of shit, you're not telling the truth.
Yeah. There's maybe, one or two channels that do that.
There are channels that do that?
No, I'm saying there's one channel. There's a channel called Unheard. It's really good, actually. These guys are very good. They have a very nice, presentation, but they're very good. The guy who does the interview is a British guy. It's called Unheard, like HERD, like a herd, but unheard.
Yes. The only thing that I would do, honestly, is just kind of, let's say, just fix the audio issue that we have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with Ching Chang Chong.
To make the audio clear. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I wouldn't do anything else.
We get Ching Chang Chong off the air.
Yeah, man. I don't want to, another crowd, louder with Crowder. It's there's something there. The only, honestly, Gavin McInnes show.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That is raw.
Yeah.
Even though he has a background and he has a setup and he has a guy.
Yeah.
But the guy that he works with, this guy, Ryan Rivera.
Yeah.
Ryan Rivera.
Yeah.
He's part of the crew.
Isn't he part of that whole...
Gavin McInnes uses him and berates him constantly. Uses him as the point is that it's it all happens.
Yeah.
There's dead air. He'll ask Ryan to do something and Ryan will suck at it and then he'll berate Ryan on air. That's... There... With whatever it is, I don't agree with Gavin McInnes on a lot of things.
Yeah.
On a lot of things, I do agree with him.
Yeah.
But I think he tells the truth, or the way he sees it.
It's kind of like the Tim Dillon. You know Tim Dillon, the comedian. So he's got this dude who sits with him, who's just it seems like he serves no purpose. His
Tim Dillon.
Tim Dillon is the fat. He's actually gay, but he's a kind of conservative-ish.
He's a guy who's always on Rogan, right?
Yeah, once in a while he went on Rogan with Alex Jones. and he just sat there and he just sat there in awe of Alex Jones.
I remember him saying how he would fall asleep listening to Alex Jones so many nights. I was like, yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. It's like...
All right, before I continue hacking up,
I never for a second in my life, maybe I'm crazy, thought that Alex Jones was an anti-Semite.
I did not either, because he had Jackie Mason on his show. Seriously? He had Jackie Mason and your brother on his show. Your brother has the distinction of being on the same show as Jackie Mason.
I still have to kind of pinch myself when that's the case. Not only did he have my brother on the show, he didn't interrupt.
He did not. That is correct.
They should call Alex Jones Homo Interruptus for the amount of times that he interrupts.
Yeah.
He is literally the master. He is the goat of interrupting.
Well, I bet that they spoke. Your brother kind of maybe pre-screened the whole thing, and he probably said, "Listen, I just like to say stuff," and
I think that they told him that. My brother doesn't have it easy speaking.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
He gets into coughing fits.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he got.
Yeah.
And I think that that he just needed the whatever.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the videotape, as we say on
let's go to the videotape.
CBS Sports. What?
That was my awful. I don't hate Mark Levin enough yet to be able to do a good impression.
Get off the phone, you big dope. You don't have to hate him. You could just be like me and listen to him.
No, you know how Norm Macdonald. I'm going to contradict Norm. Usually I agree with him, but
blasphemy.
He said that in order to do a good impression of somebody, you got to love somebody.
That is incorrect. Yeah, that is absolutely incorrect.
I would greatly agree that is incorrect.
But with that said, you must swear 150% fealty to Norm Macdonald at all times.
I do.
How dare you? In the words of Greta Thunberg.
How dare I? Yes.
How dare you?
It's the greatest. Yes. Okay, here we go. Without further ado.
This is Rabbi Mizrahi talking about the Avodah Zorah of a lot of people.
All right, here we go.
Cut one, go.
You have 6 billion idol worshippers who makes God angry every second of their life. Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Tibet, Nepal, Thailand. So many. India alone is 500 million. China is 2 billion. So many. 2 billion Christians, which are idol worshippers. Between Chinese, Indian, and Christian, at least 6.5 billion people are idol worshippers. That according to the Torah, do not have the right to live.
If we have only 8.5 billion people, he would say.
I couldn't hear. What
he would say.
What do you say?
No, it would be funny if we have actually 8.5 billion people, and he would say 20 billion people are the UFO idol worshiper in the sky.
If you're idol worshiper, don't come here.
Don't come to this planet. Go in the sky.
We have enough idol worshiper already.
Go in space. Stay in the Mars. Angry. You know why Elon Musk want to go to Mars? Because the idol worship over there.
So basically, you know who he's. So we have like 7 billion or 7.5 billion people in the world.
Yes.
Right.
Eight.
Says 6 billion. So basically, it's just Muslims, right?
And
For him,
Jews
are not idol worshippers.
And Jews, yeah.
No, but we make such a small amount of
Correct.
people that it's not even significantly
Muslims. How many Muslims are there in the world? Like 1 billion? 1.5 billion?
Muslims, they're probably a little more than 1 billion, right?
So there's 8 billion people on Earth. So you're saying 25%, 20% of the world is not, according to Mizrahi.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, well, Rabbi, I mean, if you're going along those lines, what are you saying? There's 1.5 billion Noahites? Where are they hiding, right?
Yeah,
and I'm like, he's talking about the Muslims. Okay. Yeah. And that's where I was like, Arab agent.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
Okay, so hold on.
Oh my God.
We got to squeeze out a couple more seconds. Hold on.
Yes.
Penalty.
Oh, no, there's just the word penalty from his last 2 words of this video. Yes. Penalty.
Yeah.
So, folks, let's unravel that a little bit.
Yeah.
So we have laws in the Torah of idol worship. and it specifically. Let's see if I can pull them up. Let's see if I can pull them up. Laws of idolatry. Hold on. I'm going to go to Halakhapedia. Maybe that'll help. So the idea is that there are very specific practices. Okay, it's not a general term. Oh, idolatry. It's not arbitrary. It's not like what somebody feels that it is at any particular moment in history. The Torah has outlined very, very specific rituals as to what constitutes idolatry. Okay, and most of that is what the Canaanites did in Canaan and in ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
Okay, those are like specific practices. Okay, hold on a second. Jewish, let's see, Jewish laws related. Jamie, look up Jewish laws. Jewish laws related.
No, just write like halachot, avodah zarah halachot, something like that. No?
Well, that would have been fine. That would have been fine. Hold on a second. Idolatry and customs of the nations. Idolatry and the customs of the nations. Avodah zarah vechukas hagoyim. Idolatry. It is forbidden to worship any created thing, even if the worshiper knows that Hashem is God, and he is worshiping this created thing because he believes that God wants it to be honored. That's how actually idolatry started. He is still regarded as an idolater. But this is what the Torah warned against: unless you lift up your eyes to the heavens and see the sun and the moon and the stars, all the host of heaven that Hashem, your God, apportioned to all the nations, and you are drawn away and bow down to them and worship them. So where's that from? 1 second. That is from Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 19. Okay. So basically, I want to see if this talks about any specific. See, those are general, but there are specific laws as to what idolatry is exactly, how to recognize it, okay, and what to do about it. Okay, so here's one. The person who accepts idolatry as true, even if he does not worship, blasphemes against Hashem, as it says, and the person, quote, and the person who acts handedly is blaspheming against Hashem. Okay, and then blasphemy itself is also forbidden, as it says, you shall not curse God. Okay, and it says, quote, one who blasphemes the name of Hashem shall be put to death. Okay, where is that from? That is from Leviticus, Vayikra 24:16. Okay, so idolatrous and magical practices. Here we go. It is forbidden to imitate the style of worship used by idolaters. See, this is the part where how we recognize idolaters. Okay? It is forbidden to imitate the style of worship used by idolaters, even in worshiping God, Hashem. In particular, the Torah forbids erecting pillars for worship. See, now we're getting into specifics, right?
Yeah.
As it says, you shall not set up a pillar, okay? Or setting down stones to bow down on, except in the temple, meaning the temple in Jerusalem. So you can't bow down on stones. That's why in Yom Kippur, they give out those little, you're supposed to, put a napkin down.
Oh, because I was bowing down like just on the ground in shul. So
I know, but that's that's just kind of like like an extra measure, just a symbol, like
symbolic humra.
Right. So setting down stones to bow down on them, that's something that was a practice of the idolaters in Canaan. Setting up pillars, that was a ritual thing that the idolaters did. So it says, and you shall not put carved stones in your hand to bow down on. In your land to bow down on. Okay, and also, or planting trees in the temple, as it says, you shall not plant any sacred tree next to the altar of Hashem your God. So this term sacred tree in Hebrew is Ashtaroth, right?
Yeah.
So they would plant this particular type of tree.
By the way, can I say that some of these archaeologist clowns, these Bible criticism clowns related to Astarte, the Canaanite goddess, and then they say that's who Esther was, or something like that. Speaking of Esther.
Right, of course.
They make that leap. Anyway.
Of course they are. I mean, it's the easiest thing to do. I mean, they're so lazy.
They are lazy.
Well, see, they put about as much effort as they think they need to for the masses.
No, the problem is no. They put. Can I tell you something? I have a friend who knows a lot. Knows many of them and hobnobs with many of them in academia. He tells me the thing that they're missing. They're not actually. They know a lot of Torah. You know what they're missing? They're missing the Chazal aspect. When you're missing Chazal, when you're missing what's called Emunas Chachamim, I guess if we're going to translate it directly, faith in the elders, or faith in the sages. Then you're missing the whole picture. You might as well throw everything in the garbage. That's for sure. So that's really, it's not so much. It's not a laziness. It's just a half-baked component. Or half-baked ideology, it's missing a vital component. But anyway.
Well, it's just, I've noticed in some cases how, you have somebody who has some kind of reputation, they have a bunch of degrees, they have letters before and after their name, and then they make claims that are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they actually don't make any sense when you actually just look at them.
Yeah.
And people just kind of like, they're the expert. There's that outsourcing, One of the cases is Gershon Sholem. His view and his writings on the Zohar. Yeah. Okay. Gershon Sholem was a famous, academic.
Yeah.
Israeli academic. Apparently, he was his field of expertise was Kabbalah. Yeah. Right, but from the academic standpoint, not from a practical, practitioner. Someone who knows it and uses it, he just kind of documents it and, classifies it and, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he makes claims that were obviously really sloppy. Like they stand on nothing, and they were obviously biased towards the conclusion that of course there's no validity to the book. It's not real. The stated origin of it is not accurate. It was, whatever you can possibly do. The secular goal, if you will. Okay. So Rabbi Moshe Miller, he published his analysis of Gershom Sholem's statements about the Zohar, which I wanted to read, but we're not do that today. But I'm just saying that it's a good example of the sloppiness that I'm talking about, where they're not even trying that hard.
Sure.
They just say something and they expect you to buy it because they're the expert.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they're right. Not they're right, but they're correct in assuming that that's all they need to say for most people.
Yeah, because people just don't investigate further.
They're not going to investigate yet.
Yeah. It's kind of like this Dugin guy, the guy that puts forth his ideas about Eurasian, all this a manifest destiny
about the Russian. He knows the nature of his people. He knows they're not going to investigate. They're just going to buy it.
Yeah, and I was just telling actually. I was talking to my mother about Dugin and stuff. She brings him up a lot with, in the context of Putin, how he's Putin's Rebbe, so to speak, Lahavdil. And I say, the thing about Dugin, here's the thing. We have...
Sounds Irish.
D-U-G-I-N?
I know, not the way it's spelled, but every Dugin I've ever known is
not
Irish.
Dugan, but Dugin. But, listen, he wants Ireland. He wants Russia to start with,
I know, right?
with Ireland, so there you go. But the whole idea is that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just giving you a distilled version. Like, the Torah's prescription for what a government, let's use the word loosely, government should look like is something between, or a combination of, let's say, a benevolent king, right? That's an absolute. And maybe certain aspects of what's called direct democracy, in concert with a benevolent king. That's from what I understand. So, for example, Trump. Why did people think that he was a lot of these leftists? They called him dictator, because we haven't had a benevolent king type guy, or like a Teddy Roosevelt, what's called a active executive, as opposed to a stewardship president. We haven't had that since Teddy Roosevelt. So people are just like looking at Trump and they're just like, they don't even know what to do with him. They're like, oh, dictator. No, he was essentially a Goyish version of a benevolent king, the way he was behaving. He wasn't trying to stomp out democracy. He was not, contrary to what these clowns were accusing him of. And so now you look at Dugin, he's talking about, Russian, this whole Russian manifest destiny stuff. But the problem is that he's talking about, these people having a Tsar or a king. The problem is these people are not, because they have a slave, because you said Slav slave mentality, they are not ready for the democratic part of that component. So basically, his whole thing, it's like Sitracher, like you say, Sitracher gets it first. What he really is talking about is benevolent king, but the thing he's missing is the democratic aspect. The only thing I'll say is that when he talks about the West, he's absolutely right when he says the West has, it's like they're so open-minded, their brains fell out. They're so open to everything that they essentially stand for nothing. It's almost like a nihilism.
Yeah.
So he's right about that. It's just that his solutions for what he's right about are also half-baked as hell. So
I know, they're crazy.
Yeah.
He calls he said, get rid of the internet and, and chemistry and physics are demonic.
Yeah. That's insane.
Lauren Southern?
Yes.
She did some kind of podcast where there was a guy recently, I think in the past days, who was a scholar who was going to explain all about Dugin.
Uh-huh.
Who this guy is.
Uh-huh.
I've been meaning to watch that. I haven't had a chance.
I sent you another video about the guy Unheard. He interviewed some French woman talking about Dugin and what Dugin wants. The problem is that, I know my mother tells me this, and she's right. What Dugin says to people in English, to the West, is not the full, story of the ideology that he espouses. He really distills it for the people that he speaks to in the West. If you actually hear his whole ideology, it's like Mizrahi, the Russian version,
Yeah.
In Russian, it's crazy. It's really crazy. It's like what Zhirinovsky said. If there's no Russia, you might as well just explode the world. Basically.
What's interesting? I believe that. Do you think it's possible that guys like Dugin, like Noah Harari, guys like Rabbi, what's his name, Rabbi Mizrahi, who say stuff like the kind of stuff that they say?
Yeah.
To me, they sound like only something like a sheltered child.
Yeah.
Like an autistic sheltered child could possibly say something like that. Because no person who has ever seen a person ripped in half, while still alive, could ever say what they're saying. Like, they say it so casually, as if it's some kind of we're talking about a video game here. They're not connected to reality.
Yeah.
That's scary to me.
It is scary.
That a philosopher that powerful people listen to could be so disconnected, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, with Mizrahi, it's not like people
are morons.
It's not like with Mizrahi, it's not like people disconnected. He actually, he knows we're not going to go around burning. We are not going to go around burning people for Avodah Zarah. What I guess he's saying is that Hashem, he's transposing what he thinks Hashem feels about this whole situation.
So if that's the case, he could say it a little bit differently.
That's true.
He could say, "Look, I'm worried about you. Here's what the Torah says.
Here's what I think. It's true.
Here's what I think the Torah says is going to happen to you.
So
he's really angry, and this is what's going to happen to you. And at least he could show. At least it'll look like he's showing concern.
Listen, it all goes back to the angry kickboxer. There's nothing succeeds like fear. We've seen it for the past 2 years. These pricks took a page out of that playbook. 99.5% survival rate, and let's go wackadoodle. Wackadoodle dandy. I mean, there was a girl, I told you, the girl that said Hallel in Israel when she found out that Israel was going to be the first country to get this stuff. And then she's sitting at a meal. I'm the only person at the meal who's not, not schmacked. And then so she's sitting there with a mask. Like I'm sitting at one end of the table, like a long table, she's sitting at the other, and she's got a mask on. And I'm like seriously, like, you know. But, you know, the psychosis works. It works. People, you know, appeal to the lowest common denominator. You can either get a lot of Bali Tshuva, you know, like Mizrahi says, how many Bali Tshuva this rabbi made? Did he make more than me? He's probably right, because he scared the crap out of more people than the other guy did.
Right, but how many does he keep?
How many stayed, exactly. So we don't know. Or how many are like me who outgrew him and just continued on their own path.
Well, hopefully that's the case.
Yeah. Listen, you know, he was one of the first. Listen, I'll tell you something. He was one of the first rabbis I was listening to in the beginning of my journey.
He can be funny. He can be funny.
Not just funny, dude. You realize that the shiurim that I heard from him way back, you're talking like 2008, 2009, he was talking about the very thing that I was experiencing firsthand. I was in the clubs. He was talking about the clubs. You know, all the pretzes, all the, you know, immodesty. I was, you know, not that I was some drug addict, but I was watching people doing all kinds of stuff, you know, whatever. And
can I try to do an impression of him right now?
Yes.
He's talking. He goes, "Oh, these girls, they come to shul. I went in the Ocean Parkway, Syrian. They come to shul. They not dress modest.
Yeah.
You know, they have no respect." He goes, "I bet you're not gonna go. You know, you're gonna go to the Islamic thing or whatever. The mosque." He goes, "You don't want to do it."
You don't want to do it.
He goes, "You don't." No, he didn't say you don't. He goes, "You don't want to do it."
Yeah. That's
how he said it.
That's hilarious. You know? That's so hilarious.
He's come on, you know you're not going to do it there. You know what's going to happen,
exactly.
Right?
My brother Ahmed and Mustafa are going to do something to you. Like they do to Oksana from Ukraine, you know.
Yeah.
Dude, what was he saying? There was something I wanted to say that he would say.
Hold on. Can you hold on to that?
Yes,
because I just wanted to finish reading a few more things.
Sure.
Just to just to get back for a second. I was trying to give some examples of what specifically what idol worship is, according to the Torah.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's these specific practices. So the specific practices that the Torah is talking about, there's a lot of details to them. Even what we've mentioned, a few things. This is just kind of each one of these has volumes and volumes and volumes of details as to why the Torah considers these things idolatry and some other stuff not. Okay, so idolatry is an English word. Okay, but avodah zarah is our term for it. Okay, and it's a specific discipline.
Yeah.
Which has power.
It's foreign, like avoda. That's what it means. It's foreign.
Right. It's kind of like it's a type of practices that can affect the matrix.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And have a real impact. You know, like for instance, you have like these modern day Satan worshippers.
Yeah, it's like what they're doing today with these guys. They're manipulating the matrix.
Well, no, hold on. The guys, the modern day, you know, like. You know, you go to these like suburban towns, and you have kids like goth kids, or they come in and they're worshiping Satan. These are idiots. These are LARPers.
It's all BS.
Live action role play. They're not. They're not guilty.
It's cosplay.
Of Torah-based idolatry because there is actual Satan worship.
Correct.
But they're not doing it. They don't know what they're doing.
The Satan worshippers dress in suits, and they're in Bohemian, all these kind of places with owl statues.
Those guys might actually be knowing what they're doing.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
I'm talking about just like the majority of people who consider themselves like Wicca.
You're forgetting about
Satan worshippers. These guys are idiots. They're just people playing dress up. They don't have power. They don't know what they're doing.
You forgot about Mr. Pumpkins, Tom Hanks.
And well, no, that guy, who knows? But basically, my point is, here's my point. It's really important. I'm trying to. The point is that most of the people that he's talking about are not doing the idolatry that the Torah is talking about. They don't. It's not just generally, I bow down to a statue.
Yeah.
It's how do you bow down to it? At what time of day do you bow down to it? What is the statue?
Yeah.
What are you wearing? It's all of these things are so specific
Yeah.
that you have to be careful that you are representing the Torah correctly. You know, if you say, fine, say whatever it says, but at least say what it really says.
Yeah.
Don't try to, give your own general ideas to it, So, I'll just read a tiny bit more, okay? So one of the examples was the Ashtaroth tree. So Ashtaroth, they worshipped the Canaanites worshipped this goddess that they called Ashtaroth. Not a real goddess. There's no such thing as a real goddess, okay? Ashtaroth, and who they believed was Baal's wife. Yeah. Okay, this is a common theme that you have in all of these religions. Okay, so in Egypt it was called I think they were called Osiris and Isis.
Yeah.
Okay. So they would worship her by planting a type of a tree, and they had really messed up stuff that they did with the tree. I think some people would make sweet love to it. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Okay, like they had these weird holes, and it was crazy. Yeah. So it's really specific. It's really specific stuff. Yeah. Okay, if you're not doing the specific stuff, you're not doing what the Torah is calling idolatry. You might be doing something dumb. Yeah. You might be doing something that's not good, but you're not doing death penalty idolatry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my point. So here's a little bit more. So there shall not be found among you one who passes his son or daughter through the fire of Moloch worship.
Yeah.
You shall, and quote, you shall not give of your seed to pass to Moloch. Okay? Or you should not give it to a diviner, someone who does divination.
Yeah.
Real divination, not, and so it's several days of study as to what the Torah defines as actual divination.
Yeah.
Okay? These are lost arts, thank God.
Yeah.
Okay? Or you shouldn't go to a soothsayer.
Yeah.
That's a specific thing. That's not a general, Yeah. It's not like a psychic, you drive down the street, you see a sign that says psychic. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the next day it says soothsayer.
Yeah.
Because in English, those are interchangeable.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's not what we're talking about here. Each thing is really specific. Why would God... The Torah doesn't use extra words.
Yeah.
Okay? Each word means something very, very specific, different from every other word. Yeah. Okay? So soothsayer or an enchanter, whatever, this is the English translation. Or a sorcerer. What's the difference between an enchanter and a sorcerer? In English, nothing. But to most people.
Yeah.
But in the Torah, it's everything. Right?
Yeah.
These are specific,
sure,
very, very specific arts that are lost. Okay? And then also people who consult ghosts or familiar spirit. That's different, apparently. And then there's a necromancer. Yeah. But that's what you think. Someone who contacts the dead, usually that's what we call a necromancer, right? So what's the difference between someone who... See, in the Torah, there's a difference. Yeah. You shall not practice divination or soothsaying. Okay, fine. So there's from the 613 commandments, you will find specific commandments about each one of these things and a lot of other stuff we didn't mention. So let me just see if I can find one more thing that's better. Let's see. Okay.
What I wanted to say while you're looking for that, Mizrahi always says, you see the women come to the shul, some of these places, modern Orthodox, he's like, skyscraper heels, shaitel down to the floor. They say, Ma, I'm tzniut, look, I covered, completely covered. The tight dress, you see the body. It's just like he was talking about. He give a whole shir. Actually, there's a whole shir that's still available on, I think, on his channel or Torah Anytime, about where he talks about all of the things that he was talking about. You remember Levi Kletsky, the little kid who was abducted?
Yeah.
So he gave a shir. He's like, well, let's think about it. He's like, this vacation, this $10,000, $20,000 Pesach vacation, Gashmiut, materialism, this. Hashem say, pay attention, everyone. He's a whole 2 hour, 3 hour thing, very harif, Musar admonishment at people after this whole episode. basically saying it actually literally is called "The Problems of the Orthodox World." Crazy, and a lot of people got pissed off, when he said that.
Good,
Yeah.
good, because he's right in that.
Yeah, just Listen, man. When I came back from Israel in 2013 to America, I that I wasn't around the Orthodox community especially in New York for an extended period of time before it was only that when I came back to America that I started spending time with them. Obviously, I saw the pluses and the minuses, but I was so shocked by it's almost like a lack of self-awareness of the attraction to just a crazy amount of Gashmias, like to the point of like, it's like too much,
Yeah.
And I guess I was like a little bit brainwashed by the yeshiva, the whole, these like Baal Tshuva yeshivas, and like they always talk about like, it's not good to be like, for me it was a little bit of a detriment because my personality is such, I'm already a minimalist. So you go and you tell me, oh yeah, the Torah looks down upon people who chase money. I was like, okay. So I became like, I don't want to say ascetic, but like I had an aversion to any people who were like obsessed with Gashmias or anything Gashmias, related. It took me like a very long time to like kind of level out, like a lot of it was my own doing, a lot of the whole thing of like me not, chasing money or having parnasa. A lot of it was my own doing, really, because I had such an aversion to what I was seeing in the frum world in America, especially again, it's like New York, primarily New York, Miami, these kind of places. But I was very shocked. It was like a shock to the system.
There's a story that I'm sure has been told a lot, which kind of makes sense, and I think it deeply affected the Orthodox community, where there was I'm trying to remember who told me the story, but I don't remember. So basically, there's a lady who was she was a Holocaust survivor.
Yeah. She
was in the camps when she was young, and this story is from like the 80s, I think, or the late 70s, and she so she was living in Brooklyn, I think, and they were doing house renovation, and she was so into the details, how to make her house look beautiful, all the the sink, the vanities, the faucets and all that kind of stuff, right? She was like very, very obsessed with the color of the everything.
Yeah.
And and they asked her, the rabbi asked her, like, what do you, like, why is this so important to you? Like, you seem to be a little bit obsessed. He goes, this is my revenge against Hitler.
Yeah.
Because when we were in Germany and in the camps, they treated us like we didn't exist, like we didn't mean anything. Yeah. Like there's no point to even give us like a plate, right? They give us like a maybe like half of a dirty napkin.
Yeah.
Because what's the point of wasting something nice on something as insignificant as a Jew?
Yeah.
Right? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's don't dote on a Jew, or there's this expression, no reason to pet a turd.
Yeah.
That's an English expression, right?
Sure.
Right? So don't spend money on something that's worthless.
Yeah.
So she was trying to reverse that, because obviously people who had that experience, many of them have a serious complex.
Yep.
Psychological issues about having self-worth or being taken seriously by anybody.
Yeah.
So they overcompensate in those ways.
Yep.
They want to show how big and important I am by the fact that look at all this stuff around me. This is done for me because I'm special.
Unfortunately, I noticed this with ex-Soviet dissidents. Unfortunately, and I listen. I have rachamim on people. I do. But at some point you got to realize just because you had nothing in the Soviet Union and you had to stand in line for one pair of jeans doesn't mean you have to now be obsessed with, as I like to call it, things and stuff. You know, there's got to be some sort of balance here, because you could, just as much as you were a slave, or well, the Soviet government tried to make you a slave, you can become a slave to your job, or you know, and your all your stuff and whatever it is. And we saw that with COVID. Like people, a lot of Russians, you know, like, что будет, надо работу, you know, что мне бросить работу? I'm supposed to quit my job. Тебе легко говорить, you know, it's easy for you to say, da-da-da, this and that. That whole thing, you know. But it's, you know, you take people out of Mitzrayim, but you can't take, it's very difficult to remove Mitzrayim out of the people. And you see now, like with Russia, the way it is today, like Russians, what effect that had on the Jews there. It's like the what is it called? The tom of that slavery mentality still remains to this day. Even in people who have like millions of dollars. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We have to work to remove that. But you were saying about this whole Avodah Zarah thing, so.
No, I was just saying that basically, you know, I don't need to get into it. I can maybe prepare like some examples next time.
Yeah.
But each specific, the places where in the Torah where the Torah says this kind of Avodah Zarah, meaning this specific type of idolatry or this specific type of sorcery or this specific type. These are not general terms. These are
Correct.
referring to specific disciplines, which no mainstream religion practices these specific. So technically speaking, like Hinduism, right?
Yeah.
It is in the spirit of idolatry, but it's not technically idolatry.
So here's my question. So how come, you know, we have this thing where, you know, we're not allowed to step foot into a church, for example. And also, what's the other thing that I wanted to ask?
Let's just talk about that one for instance, right? Christianity, right? There, you have the rabbis are split down the middle traditionally, right? Starting going back more than 1,000 years about the status of Christianity, whether or not it's idolatry. And as far as I understand, this discussion it was never exactly settled.
Yeah.
Okay? So there's two opinions. One opinion, usually the rabbis from Europe, right? From medieval times, they said it's not technically idolatry for non-Jews.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because nowhere in the Torah does it say that a non-Jew has to believe that non-Jews have to believe that there's a God, a creator, right?
Yeah.
and only one God. But nowhere there's no specific pasuk verse that says that, you know, that you can't that if they can believe in a God, but if they use like a partnership situation, you know what I mean, or like some kind of like partnership setup, or like three things working together as one, or
Trinity,
whatever, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. So there's nothing. It's nothing specifically saying that they are considered idolaters and have to be put to death over that belief or that kind of worship.
Sure.
Okay. So that's for non-Jews. Yeah. For Jews, that is a serious that is idolatry, and yes, that is punishable by death. Okay. So that's really important thing. Okay. Now the rabbis some of the rabbis from the Middle Eastern territories, we're going back to medieval times.
Yeah.
Right. They ruled that it is idolatry. Okay.
For them. So for the non-Jews.
But not even everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. So the point is that Christianity is not even if it is technically, you know, considered idolatry, it's definitely not the idolatry that the Torah is referring to, where somebody has to be sentenced to death.
So what about now this whole, I work in the wine industry, this whole non-mavushal issue. Listen, man, I'll be the first to tell you, we don't have any more these non-Jews who are using, wine for Avodah Zarah, unless you count what the Catholics kind of do with it, and even then, it's like I'm not gonna go.
It's a humrah.
It's just a hum. Yeah, it's a humrah. But like humrah against what though? Against something that doesn't even exist. It's like taking the booster for Shmomikron that escapes it anyway. So what are you humraing?
It's not like that. It's not. It's actually not like that. I'm gonna have to contradict you.
Okay.
And I don't.
How dare
like
you?
doing that.
How dare you?
I don't like doing that, Greg.
You must swear. You must swear undying fealty to my opinions. You must.
I have a. I definitely want to, but I just can't get myself to do it. Yeah. So here's the difference. We have something called minhagim, right? Mm-hmm. So if the rabbis made a decree, right, which the Torah gives them the authority to do that, okay? But everybody knows the difference between a law from the Torah itself and a rabbinical decree. A rabbinical decree does not have the same level of, there can be exceptions made from time to time because rabbinical decrees are recognized what they are. They are, even if they are given the power to do that by the Torah, it's made by man. Yeah. Okay, so, and there are 7 such decrees that the rabbis passed in historically. Yeah. Okay, so in very extreme cases, there's room for leniency. Yeah. In the with those decrees. Okay, okay. So because they the rabbis were self-aware, they didn't consider themselves God. Okay, and each one of these decrees is considered a fence. Yeah. They pass this decree to make sure that, or to keep the people safe from transgression a Torah decree. Because there were things going on in those societies where people could become mistaken and easily transgress one of the major Torah laws, not intentionally. Okay, so they passed decrees in order to attempt to prevent that from happening. Okay, so then you have a minhag. A minhag is a custom. Yeah. Okay, after a long time, there is an idea in Jewish law that saying that if there was a decree that was passed, or the Jews, or not even a decree, but there's a custom that you have done for like significant, I don't know how many generations it takes to get the status, but it becomes something called a minhag klal Yisrael, a minhag klal Yisrael. Like it's an embedded custom within the Jewish people, and so it's and those are very, very important. On the one hand, they're customs, and they're not as, they don't have the same authority as the actual laws themselves. Customs, no one's gonna give you lashes or the death penalty or anything like that for not keeping a custom. But on the other hand, the customs are the most important. Yeah. Okay, like all these customs are the most important. You know why? Because the laws that were given to us by God, right? Those are His laws that He gave to us, right? What are the customs? The customs are our answer to God. Like God, He responded. He didn't respond to us. He communicated with us by giving us these laws, and our customs is our answer back to Him. Here's the special, intimate way that our observance of your laws has developed in the circumstances in which we found ourselves in Poland and Russia and Morocco and Yemen, whatever. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. This is how we decided to keep, to the best of our ability, the law that you gave us in the environment that we found ourselves in. Okay? And that's very personal. You understand? That is a sign that there's a relationship that was there. Like you go to somebody's house. Yeah. You can see a married couple's house. You could see signs of a relationship. Okay? There's knickknacks on the wall. There's photographs. of the spouses together, on some, in Egypt or the Grand Canyon or whatever, right? You find this evidence, these articles, these artifacts of a relationship that has been going on for a long time. That's what customs are. So those are the most precious things to God, right? Because that's evidence. It's mementos of the relationship that we've had, that we've cultivated over time. So on the one hand, when it comes to, like, from the standpoint of law, it's the least important.
Yeah.
But from the standpoint of the actual relationship between people and God, it's the most important. So that's why it's not so simple.
Yeah.
And that whole thing about the mevushal, right? That's one of those things. We're not just going to throw that out.
Yeah, for sure.
Something we've been doing for so long.
Sure.
That we're attached to it.
We're attached to it, but it's just I sometimes wonder. Let's say I have a mevushal bottle open and a non-Jew touches it. Automatically, it's like, that's it.
We keep
off limits to me.
Look, you know why? Because 99.9% of the time, the non-Jew that's going to touch it, probably did not make it impure.
Yeah.
Okay, because 99% of the non-Jews out there are not practicing the type of idolatry that the Torah lays out.
Yeah.
But what if it's that one tiny little, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's still that one holdout, the one guy from a secret society
with his freaking owls and stuff.
Yeah, who specifically, you know what I mean? What if it's that one
What
guy
if it's Trudeau? So you can't have non-mevushal wine with Trudeau. I wouldn't even have mevushal wine with him. Much less.
I wouldn't be in the same country with him.
Yeah. Do you know that
I'm glad I'm not.
Putin just banned him? No, he boycotted him specifically.
Yeah. Okay.
He sanctioned Trudeau specifically.
Yeah.
He's like, you are a gnida. He's like gnida calling a gnida. A gnida. As Rabbi Kessin says, this is evil destroying itself. We just have to stand back and let it do that. That's what we have to do.
Oh, why is it taking so long?
I don't know. Listen, it's not long. It's very quick in Hashem's timeline. It's long for us because we're puny little.
Yeah, that's all. I don't.
Puny little.
With all due respect, I'm not worried about God.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure not.
He knows how to handle his own. I'm worried about us here. It feels like a billion years.
Yeah.
This is taking.
It's too slow. Now you have like Burla, Shmurla backing away. Leaving little hints that I spoke to those guys and they convinced me, and it wasn't really me. I had reservations about it. It was counterintuitive for me to this, and you see, it's already the beginning of him trying to throw his scientists under the bus. It's not going to work for him. It's for sure not going to work for him, but he's trying to do it. And he's the only one visibly out there. And as usual.
Is he crazy? Does he really think? What do these guys really think?
I don't know.
Listen,
Haman also was like, listen, all these guys deep down knew that they're either doing something wrong, they're going to be caught, but they have, at some point you reach the point of no return. You have to just keep delaying. They're just delaying the inevitable at this point. That's what they're doing, and they know that. Just like Haman knew that, They all know. Oh my goodness. Oh, so here's my question. Now we get to the question, $64,000 question. So how come, if all these, let's say, mainstream Orthodox people, whether they be Litvak or modern Orthodox, know the halachas, why do they make that stretch to accuse people like you, because you think that the Rebbe is Mashiach, of being Avodah Zarah, Bali Avodah Zarah?
Dude, we have a lot of idiots in our ranks. That's just, it's
this
really
is not
just
idiots. This is like big people. Some big people are running around doing this and saying you can't.
What's a big person?
I'm saying big, like Talmidei Chachamim, big rabbis.
Dude, Talmidei. How do we have so many Talmidei? In the years past,
we have a lot.
Dude, hold on a second. In the years past, You know what a Talmud Chacham is? Does anybody?
I know.
Can we just define that for a second?
Yes.
Here's a good example. The Vilna Gaon, right? I'm gonna go out to the other side, right?
Yeah.
Of
the argument.
Of the ancient, the old argument, right?
The alt new argument, as we say.
Yeah. Right? He literally memorized 15,000 books.
Yes.
I want to say that again. And there's a lot of claims and stuff like that. It's just like people just fling stuff here and there. But when you get down to like actual like reality, he actually memorized that many books. Okay? And also, memorize doesn't mean like he can kind of remember what the book said generally. We're talking about photographic. That means like he can access any one of those books, any word. He knows exactly what page it's on. What his mind, his brain was like a living computer.
Yeah.
Storage,
like
computer storage.
Deep Blue or something like that.
Okay. He could read. He could recite to you the Torah backwards.
Yeah.
As you would hear it in rewind.
Yeah.
Okay. These are just the least. So that's just kind of like the physical logistics of this. Okay. The depth of his understanding on all of those things, and the accomplishments that he had in this world and in the spiritual world, and also this is not even mentioning his accomplishments in the sciences, in the physical sciences, and in mathematics. Yeah. So this is we're talking about a person who lived, relatively recently. That was like in the 1800s. So the real big rabbis, right? You got 10 of those a generation.
I know.
10, 15.
But here's my question.
In the times of the Talmud, you had maybe 20.
Can you clarify this for me? In that whole machloket between him and all this Baal Shem Tov stuff, did he ever once call the people, followers of Baal Shem Tov, Baalei Avodah Zarah?
I don't know. I've been searching, actually, for any actual, like, quoted statements from him.
Yeah. It seems like it was all the students.
Second, third, fourth, fifth.
It seems like it was just all this like messenger, broken telephone students punching each other in the face kind of situation. Like it just that's what it seems like to me. There's
a rabbi who he has a lecture series on YouTube. I think his name is Haber, Rabbi Haber. Okay. And his lecture series is on what was it, Rabbi Chaim Volozhin's book, the famous book, Nefesh. Chaim. Hold on a second. So so this guy is a brisker.
Yeah.
It's Rabbi Haber.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's very knowledgeable, and he comes from that lineage. Like his family is from the Brisker Rebbeim.
Yeah. Like
his aunts, he has like cousins, aunts, uncles who actually. Direct relatives of the Brisker Rav. Okay?
Yeah.
And they received, and they actually have, like, if you want to receive the closest tradition as to what, the actual stories were, because everybody screws up the stories.
Of course.
It's like, these kind of stories, they get overblown and they get mixed up with other stories.
Yeah.
So this is what he heard. Now, this is a completely non-Hasidic, completely Litvish guy, okay? He said that it was, I think it was the Maggid of Mezrich, and Rabbi Menachem Mendel Vitebsk, his rabbi.
Yes.
Not his rabbi. It was one of his students, one of the older students of the Baal Shem Tov. They were both students of the Baal Shem Tov, but I think the Baal Shem Tov had already passed at this time, and so the Maggid, he came with Maggid was not the senior student at that time.
Yeah.
Okay, ultimately, he inherited the dynasty.
Yeah.
But at that time, he was not the senior student. There was another tremendous scholar who was also a disciple of the Baal Shem Tov, and they came to speak to the Vilna Gaon. They came to his residence, and he looked. So basically, and the Vilna Gaon didn't want to speak to them. In fact, he climbed out the window.
This I heard. I heard the story.
To not see them. And then later on, one of his students who saw this, who saw the Vilna Gaon do this, said, "Well, why did you do that? Why didn't you just talk to them?" And here's what he said. He said, "I looked through the keyhole and I saw them, and I saw the glowing presence of the Shekhinah with all of heaven and the angels, right, floating all around them. And I was so overwhelmed by their holiness that I knew that I couldn't be completely objective in their presence, and I know that they're wrong."
Correct.
So but their holiness was so powerful that I didn't want to be influenced by it. I wanted, so it was something like that. Okay, so there's not a lot of people like that. How do we have so many Gedolim all of a sudden? Do you know what dude, these people do not appreciate...
They're Gedolim compared to us, let's put it that way.
No, they're not. Okay? These people... I don't know.
So listen, I hear what you're saying. What I'm trying to get at is that there seems to be, it's not idiots, there seems to be a very, very significant amount of people, just reasonable people, not idiots, who really believe that this is what a certain segment, let's say, of Lubavitch is doing. Is they use the word Avodah Zarah. They don't use the word silliness or stuyot or wrong ideas or this or that. They use the word. And I say to them, do you know what Avodah Zarah is? Like what
they don't. That's what I'm saying. They don't know what the hell they're talking about.
I'm like, do you have any effing clue what Avodah Zarah actually is? At best, it's maybe. Listen, I have my reservations about it, whatever it is, but I don't call it Avodah Zarah.
There's a difference between not a good idea and something that's bad or can lead you astray to Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah is a very specific thing.
And you know what's interesting? There's a lot of people that say, okay, it's not Avodah Zarah, but this is how, they'll go the classical route of like, well, if you remember, this is how Christianity got started. It wasn't Christianity, whatever. It was regular people,
Now they sound like neocons.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, to the defense of Lubavitch, I say to them, the reason that Lubavitch will never go, become Chas v'sholom become like Christianity, is because on a practical level, Lubavitch is just Lubavitch. They don't try to make, they only try to make people Jewish. When they do kiruv, they're not trying to necessarily pull people into, everybody learn Hasidus. Like once you go past a certain stage, maybe, but even then, they're not pushing. Most of the Lubavitcher shluchim are not pushing this whole Rebbe is Mashiach thing, even if they themselves believe it. They're not. Unless you're like in Israel and some guy's got, the Yehi Kippah and he's all about, half of his ideology is, Yehi, and all this kind of stuff. But most of them are not doing that.
I'm going to argue even that guy is not doing nothing even resembling idolatry.
The only thing he's doing... Can I tell you something? I remember in, we had in yeshiva, in my yeshiva, we had a hashkafa class. Every Thursday we get to ask the rabbi whatever we want. And he was kind of like this guy. He was very, what you call, neo-Hasidus, whatever you call it, Kind of like
I don't like it.
A Litvak who wore a Bekasha. One of these people? And he lived in Ramat Beit whatever, American guy. So I asked him a question. What should I do, if I'm in a Lubavitch shul on Shabbos, and at the end of davening they start singing Yehi? He goes, and then he's like, can I daven with those guys? He goes, first of all, you can daven with them. He goes, if you're not, feel comfortable when they're doing that, he's like, just step out. He doesn't call it Avodah Zarah. He's like, okay, just step out, or I don't know. You don't have to sing it. Like I don't sing it. When I'm in the shuls, they sing it. I don't sing it.
I do.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. It's like some of my best friends are black. Some of my best friends sing Yehi.
It's not like that at all, actually. But okay.
No, you know what I'm saying. Like some of my best friends sing Yehi. Like literally. So okay. Like,
so
Avodah Zarah.
Can I just?
What are we doing?
Can I comment?
Yes.
All right. So there's a lot of precedent for the way Lubavitch felt about rabbis who felt that their rabbi was Mashiach. That was a
Correct.
mainstream, regular thing to do. In
Correct.
fact,
Correct.
it was almost like
Or could be
it's
the
almost like
Mashiach.
if you didn't think someone was Mashiach, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, and they weren't joking about it; they were serious.
Yeah. Well, until the
Okay.
Shabtai Tzvi thing, and then that all kind of stopped.
Yeah, but so that's not. I don't think that's relevant to this discussion. I think that it was there was, you know how there was. If you read the story of David, right, there was this insane, just like animosity towards him that existed within the nation of Israel itself. It was some kind. It was an evil.
Yeah.
That it was something. It was described.
Wait a minute, but wasn't he at one point not the nicest,
evil.
not the nicest kind of guy until he did tshuva?
Who was it?
I said, wasn't at one point that he wasn't exactly the peachy, until he did.
Are you talking about David?
Yeah, until he did tshuva. Like there was a lot of
What are you talking about?
What do you mean?
I don't know. I have no idea.
The guy had there was all this,
For example,
all this, just sending out a guy to die in war and this and that, and then marrying his wife, that kind of stuff,
Okay. Okay. So I'm very glad that you asked that. Now I have the opportunity to correct it.
Okay.
So, as you know, there was a custom. It was actually a law for men before they went out to battle. They would divorce their wives.
Correct.
Okay. So she was not married. That's number one. Number two, this guy was a captain. He was a high-level officer, okay, who spent most of his time on the front lines of that war anyway. Okay? So that's what he did for a living. Okay? So David did not send him out there. David allowed him to go do what he normally went to do. Okay? That's very, very important. Okay? What does it mean when I say allowed? That means that in reality, according to the law, he should have been executed for insulting the king. Right? There's laws about how you are allowed to talk to a king and things that you could say. Okay? David gave him a chance to go do what he normally does. Okay? And then come back and live out his life without interfering.
Assuming he survives.
Yeah, but that's the same. This guy was a career soldier.
Sure. You
understand? So instead of executing him right then and there on the spot, he just said, "Okay, go back to work." It's not like he didn't set up an ambush party for him or something like that to make it seem like that's not. We're not describing David here. That's not. This is. I think that this view of David came from the Christians, from their understanding, because they don't read. They don't read the Torah in Hebrew. They don't bother to focus on the true original language. They don't understand that what they're reading is not a translation, but a flawed commentary at best. Okay, and completely misleading at worst. Okay, so the reason why the prophet Nathan came to him afterwards and told him the story, right, about the poor man who only had one lamb, and then there was a rich guy who came who had many lambs, and he saw that one little lamb that the poor guy had, and he took it for himself, right? The reason why David was punished, and the reason why he did tshuva, was because he didn't have a self-awareness as to what this is going to look like to everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay? That he has to understand that not only does he have to act, his decisions have to be based on the truth, but he also, as a king, he has to understand what is the message,
optics,
what is it going to look like to others, and what are they going to think and feel? How is that going to affect the other people?
Speaking of Trump, the benevolent king, it's almost like the similar thing, where Trump never really cared about optics and never really cared about how things You know,
but in his case, I would argue it's different.
I know it's different, but
Trump had to do.
I know he had to do this. He had to do
because
this.
optics has become the only thing that matters to anybody.
I know. But you know how many people told me, like younger people who are actually conservatives, they told me, or vote Republican. They're like, I'm a fan of his policies. I'm not, he's just not palatable to me. And I told them like, okay, so grow up. What can I tell you?
Dude, if we would have, yes. Could I just wanted to go back to David for a second.
Sure.
Right? The way people think about David is, I start mashing my teeth.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it is, but like, I'm a fan of David, and also I feel so bad for him.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has been treated worse in the history of mankind.
Well, listen, all you gotta do is read Tehillim and you'll see how tormented the guy was about a lot of things.
Apparently he went through all that torment to be treated worse than anybody's ever been treated.
For sure. No good deed.
So that he could produce the Psalms,
listen,
so that we can find the words to express.
Yeah.
Whatever,
dude, I've made some of my best DJ mixes and some of my best photography I've made while in tremendous amount of pain about some relationship or life or whatever. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a typical thing, Pain.
And I got to clarify some more stuff.
Yeah.
David didn't see Bathsheba and get horny and then decide to go, oh, I'm gonna, I need to have her, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what people think happened. It sickens me to think that people think that.
Yeah.
David was a prophet. David didn't move his neck or didn't blink without asking God for permission or seeking God's guidance as to whether or not he's not like me. Do you understand? Like kind of sitting around there, kind of like porn or no porn. Okay, no porn. No, that's not what we're talking about.
Deal
here.
or no deal. Yeah.
Do you know what a tzaddik is? He was the Sphira of Malchut. Do you know what a Sphira is?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Guys, listen. David was like a guy who, imagine if you could just be a fly on the wall, right? You could see somebody who was always on his best behavior, always was looking around to see who needs his help or who's in pain, who's suffering. I'll bring him a cup of tea. I'll bring him, he felt all he cared about was literally everybody else around him, literally, okay? And he was shit on constantly.
Yeah.
There's even a statement where his father, Yishai, sent him to the front line when he was a boy to bring some supplies to his brothers, right? And his brothers hated, they hated him in a sense. And they hated him and didn't hate him at the same time. They didn't know how to deal with
it. It's like the Yosef thing. It's a similar...
What was it?
It's the Yosef thing.
There was a similarity, yeah. There was a similarity. So, and then he was talking to the other soldiers, David, and then his oldest brother got angry at him. And he's like, you're this, and he started accusing him. And he goes, and then it's literally in the Tanakh. There's a pasuk. David says, now what did I do?
Yeah. That's funny.
I laughed out loud when I saw that, and then I kind of shed a tear a little bit inside because I don't really shed tear on the outside because I'm a man's man.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's just recorded, guys. Anything recorded in the actual scripture is just a little. It's to say that it's a tip of the iceberg is not doing it justice. You have to understand any little like slice of any little like snapshot of something that happened back then when it's recorded in a verse.
Yeah.
It's there to tell you that there's a world there that you have to explore.
For sure.
None of that is just okay. So David, we would see a guy who ever since his childhood would be like Cinderella, but a much better Cinderella in the sense that he loved and wanted to please everybody, and then you'd be most of us who would be his friends would be like, David, can you stop kissing up
Stop being so nice.
To everybody, it's pathetic. They don't respect you. They don't treat you well. Yeah. He's like, no, you don't know. I see the beauty in them. And we shake our heads like, oh, this guy David.
Naive.
He's, he's like, he would be like that wife who doesn't want to leave her abusive husband. Oh, you don't know him. I've seen the beauty inside of him. That's Dave. That's who David is.
In between beatings, I've seen the beauty inside of him.
That's who David is.
So would David find favor?
So hang on. So this is I'm so sorry, Greg, because I'm very passionate about it. Yeah. So here's what happened. So David, he sees Bathsheba. He has a prophecy that the Messiah is going to be born through her.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's why he wanted to get together with her. There's no other reason. Okay? There's literally no other reason. Right? Remember, he's the king. He could have, he had a lot of wives, and, he can have a Miss Universe contest at any moment, and, like Achashverosh, right? And it wasn't hard for him to get some action on Saturday night.
Sure.
Okay? You got to think a little bit who we're talking about here. Yeah. Okay. So he had a prophecy, okay, that he needed to be married to that woman to produce Solomon. That's what that was about.
Yeah.
Okay, and rectify the whole world. Yeah. David was there to rectify the whole world. He wasn't just there to maintain a kingdom and his throne, like everybody else was. He was there to rectify the whole world. He could have been Mashiach himself.
Yeah.
Had a couple of things gone right. Okay. So that's what he wanted to do. He just wanted to do God's will immediately. And so he's there doing his best, right? As the good boy, literally the definition of a good boy. Okay? But he's sometimes he's not self-aware. Like he's not perfect. He's still a human being.
Yeah.
Okay? And he didn't have a perfect picture of how he's like, oh, I'm going to bring Mashiach into the world. Oh, let's get on that.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a whole picture of what that was going to look like, the optics. Okay? And then so you have Nathan come over and then give it to him over the head. So Nathan's coming and David's like, he goes, hey, Nathan, I'm a good boy, right? He goes, no, you're not a good boy. You're bad. You're bad. He's like, woo. He's like whimpering like a dog. He's like, what did I do? That's who David is.
Yeah.
I seriously feel like physically harming anybody who would say anything about David.
So can I ask you a question? How would David view, based on what you just said, how would he view people like Shmurla and Tsuris? Shmoros.
And who?
Oh, Shmoros and his son. How would he look at people like that?
How would what's surprising? I think he would be one of the only people on earth to have mercy on him.
Yeah. I mean, he'd probably succeed in doing convincing them to do tshuva, no?
I don't know, but he would definitely, he would still, believe in them. Stupidly.
Isn't that kind of like not killing a Mullik? Kind of the same, almost.
No, he wouldn't be like that. David would do exactly what God says. Exactly. Okay? And you know who got the worst deal of all? Who I feel even worse for than David?
Who?
Shaul.
Yes, he did.
I take it back. The one person treated worse than David was Shaul.
Yeah. It's like the movie with Arnold, Raw Deal.
That is probably the rawest deal in history.
Yeah.
Shaul was the greatest man in Israel.
Brother, can we pause for 1 second? I just have to
yeah.
use the boys' room again. Sorry about that. Just give me a sec.
In the background right now is the washing machine.
Oh. Sounds like it was talking.
You still hear it?
Yes. No, I don't hear it anymore.
Oh that was the video playing for a moment.
Oh man. Wow. So my pounding headache went away, Baruch Hashem.
Good. That's mine kind of went away too, but it's kind of just hanging out. I wish it would go away entirely, but it's still kind of like lingering on the outskirts.
Yeah.
It won't go away.
It's kind of like Putin in Kiev, you know?
Yeah, he's just kind of chilling there.
Can I read to you a thing that, my sister has her own company, her own, startup app, whatever. And she has an IT guy who lives in Ukraine, Chernihiv. You know Chernihiv?
The city? No.
Yeah, Chernihiv is basically, I'll tell you exactly where it is.
I've heard of Chernovtsi. I've never heard of Chernihiv.
No, Chernihiv is like southwest and close to here. Chernihiv is actually... One second. Oh my god. I'm just trying to get in relation to where it is next to Kiev. It's like 2 hours north of Kiev, towards Belarus. So it's between like Kiev and the Belarus border. So this guy goes, "Hi, I finally managed to escape the city. I was surrounded by Russian army and bombing was every day. We didn't have electricity, water, heating, internet for a week. Like you couldn't work for a week. So I took my family and we moved out. It was the most dangerous drive in my life. We drove through fields, mud, and villages. Thanks to our army, they are super professional and showed us the most safe way out of the city, but still not 100% guarantee of safety. But we were lucky and there was no shooting on our way." And my sister writes, "From a web designer, he lives in Chernihiv. Wasn't able to escape until a few days ago." It's crazy, man. Like you can get like, instead of getting a guy, hiring, because all these people, they hire guys in like Indonesia, Philippines, for cheap. If you're a Russian speaker, you can just literally get just a guy in Ukraine. And they're very quality programmers, web designers. And to them, an American, a very small American salary is a very fantastic Ukrainian salary. Like their hryvnia or the dollar goes a very long way over there. In this Chernihiv.
Okay.
So that's the story. I don't know.
Great story, Greg.
Cool story, bro. Dude, when I was in Israel, there was a guy. So I was working with this Yemenite guy, and we were, what were we doing? We were trading stocks. We were doing long term. Well, actually not long term, like fundamental trading. Basically trading on news events. And what happened was he literally went and got IT guys in Ukraine and Russia, both, to design a machine that had something similar to what Goldman Sachs has, except it pumps out news events based on your parameters from Google Finance and Yahoo Finance. Actually, it's a very amazing thing that he paid these guys to do it, and they really did an amazing job. But it sometimes had glitches. Dude, so after 2 months of working, one day we had an issue with the machine that they designed. And my partner calls me up. I'm in Jerusalem. I was in yeshiva, but I was always I was traveling to, this is in Rishon LeZion. And he calls me up and he goes, "Greg, we have a problem. We can't work." I'm like, "Why not?" He goes, "The IT guy, I can't find him." I'm like, "What do you mean you can't find him?" "He disappeared. I don't know. I can't contact the guy, and the machine doesn't work. We have a problem. We have a glitch. It's delayed. We can't work and delayed." About 3 or 4 days go by. Where did they find this guy? The guy is somewhere in India. He fled to India on some sort of spiritual quest. And he's drunk. They found him drunk in the middle of I don't know, wherever. Bangalore or something. Bombay, Mumbai, Bangalore. I want to pick one. Просто пьяный в доску. We say drunk into the 2x4. Hit with a 2x4. And I was just like, Hashem, this is the most hilarious. Like, only Hashem could orchestrate this. You know? And I just moved to Israel, you know? And I actually had a job for 7 months at a high-tech company. And right after that, I met this Yemenite guy who had this, who had this machine, proprietary machine. And I was just like, what did I do to, to have this guy flee, or what did we do to have this guy flee to India? He was the lead, he was the head IT guy, because all the other guys, they were under him. But he just left, he escaped. So I was like, so what are we going to do now? He's like, I don't know. Supposedly there's a guy in Canada who knows this. So I went to contact the guy in Canada. And the problem is with Canada is there's a freaking 7-hour difference. At least with wherever it was, Kiev and Russia, you could work with them in real time. So that was very fun. Needless to say, after that, we started buying, they offer, there's very popular machines. So we bought, 3 of them. There's, Interactive Brokers. There's a couple other ones. We just said, screw this. It was a great idea. It was a great thing that they built, but it was, it was like beta mode. They couldn't do support for us. And that was it. So that's my experience. That is my experience with IT guys in Ukraine and Russia.
They have spiritual crises.
Yes.
They end up in India.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they call us from.
That's what
we didn't know that. We thought those were actual Indian guys.
Exactly.
It turns out those are Ukrainian guys who have spiritual crises. Exactly. They end up in India.
Exactly.
And they talk, how can I help you?
Yes. Hello, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Where are you based? I'm based in Bangalore.
Where are you based?
Where are you based? Are you based?
What are you, comrade question?
Politically,
why you care?
I'm politically based. Based. That's how based I am.
I'm based. Where is this based? The first time I heard somebody called based.
I have no idea what that is.
BASED,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Based, this,
yeah.
It means crazy.
It doesn't mean crazy. It means like a conservative, like a Proud Boys level.
That's right. That's the context in which I heard it from.
Yeah.
The first time I heard it was based flagpole man.
The hell?
Based
flagpole man.
Man. Based. No. Hold on. There's a guy who used to show up to these Antifa, Black Lives Matters, events, and then when they would attack,
mm-hmm.
right? Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, it was the other way around. They used to show up to the Black Lives Matters, and Antifa used to show up to their events, and then all of a sudden they would start attacking, and so obviously the Proud Boys were ready and expecting this, so they fought back. One of them was Based Stickman.
The hell?
I want to see if hold on, Based.
That's hilarious.
Stick. Yeah, Based Stickman. Hold on.
Hilarious.
This guy. Yeah. Hold on, 1 second. Based Stickman extended. No, wait. I might be getting it wrong. Kyle Chapman. Oh yeah, Kyle Chapman, aka Based Stickman, goes on the record about Portland, Oregon. This is 4 years ago. So this is a guy who would wear a baseball helmet, mm-hmm. goggles, and a gas mask.
Oh my god!
Right. He would have an American flag, and then he would basically hit people with the flag.
He sounds like a combination of Timmy and the guy from Crank Yankers.
Dude, this guy became a cultural icon. Basic man sees friend.
What the hell?
Dragged away and fends off Antifa attackers.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, let me see this guy. Kyle Chapman. Oh my god, this guy.
Yeah.
He looks like a regular. What the hell? There's another guy who's wearing what looks like the Sparta helmet with the Jewish with a Magen David between his eyes, and then on each side of it, on both cheeks, a cross. Alt-right activist known online as Based Stickman gets probation for assaulting protester with leaded stick. Is a fervent Trump supporter who describes himself as an American nationalist. Pro-Trump rally in Berkeley, California. Chapman was spotted allegedly with assaulting. Blah, blah, blah. This is a hilarious photo, though. This is very funny.
No, but I've seen like highlight reels of him fighting.
Yeah.
It's like it's pretty cool actually.
Yeah. You know what? Let me see this. I'm gonna undo it without the sound. I'm just gonna watch it. Hold on. Because you won't be able to hear it. Hold on. Here.
All right.
Based Stickman. Let's see. Wow, Vice did a whole thing on it. The fight destroying Antifa. Kyle Based Stickman Chapman. There's like a whole thing about this.
Vice is just
they're awful
scum.
People. Hold on
They're
a second.
just garbage.
What the hell? It's so weird.
Gavin's the only thing that came out of Vice.
There's like a video of like, oh whatever. This is stupid. This is like one of these fantasy games, and then puts him in the fantasy game. It's so weird. Oh my God, dude, it's almost like people. You know what they do? They sit around. These are like people in their parents' basement. They sit around playing video games, and then they try to turn themselves into the character. But then the character, they want to be that character in like some sort of crazy protest. Like cosplay, you know?
Yeah, no, everybody has to like get their like persona.
Yeah. It's really...
That's funny. You know, that's probably what ancient battlefields were like too.
Ancient what?
Ancient battlefields.
Yeah.
They probably had something like that too.
You mean like every guy had his own like character that he embodied?
Yeah, every guy wanted to be known as, you know, oh, he's that guy. Like Patrice O'Neal, he actually did something like that. He's like, man, when I was playing football, you know what I mean? It was like gladiators. We don't do what you all do now. You know, when a player gets hurt, you all hold hands and pray. We didn't pray, right? Yeah. We were like, yeah, that's right.
That's right.
You come out here for coming out on a field with killers, right? Where's his mama? Yeah, that's right, lady. Don't let your kid out on a field with killers, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
He goes, look, he can't even wiggle his toes. He goes, take one of his socks. Go ahead, take one of his socks or tie it around my helmet. And next football team that we face, they're going to be like, oh, that's the guy. That's the guy who'll be taking socks off. Paralyzed motherfuckers.
Exactly. Dude, you know, like, I'll tell you something. This is how I realized, you know, that football is not for Jews. This is like 1994.
Why not?
This is, no, just listen. It's 1994, freshman year of high school. And this Israeli guy that I knew, he must have been, he was, I remember I used to go over his house, this is in Jersey, and we used to play Madden. He was very good at Madden, you know, playing Madden. And we all used to, you know, him and a few other guys, we all also used to play like tackle football in the yard. But not, you know, we're not like, you know, Lawrence Tayloring each other, but we're tackling each other, you know. So what does this guy do? He tries out for the football team, high school. This guy is about, I would say, I think he was like 5. He was very short, you know. If you saw him today, he's probably like 5'8", 5'7". The guy could run fast, relatively speaking, but the thing is, he was 5'7", and he was like, you know, soaking wet. You know, he was a stick man. He was a base stick man soaking wet, you know.
Okay.
The guy goes out for a tryout for wide receiver. And there was this guy in our grade who everybody knew that he's basically going to be the fullback /
He shouldn't have tried out for wide receiver. Wide receivers got to be tall, you know.
So there's no
like tight end or something.
No. There's no other position he could try for because the guy is tiny. He should not even be going for football. That's what I'm saying. So the guy goes on a the crossing pattern, the L shape.
Did you see Rudy? All right, go ahead.
But Rudy at least was like stocky. This guy goes on a crossing pattern over the middle. And this guy who played, you know, fullback for 4 years and linebacker, because, you know, they played both sides of the ball in high school, he basically lays this kid out. And then the whole day, everybody's walking around going, yo, man, did you guys see how so-and-so got laid out by whatever? The whole day, that's all anybody could ever talk about. And everybody knew that this kid, it was like Israeli. He was an Israeli kid. Sephardic. the wide receiver. Okay. And it was just so embarrassing. And they're like, everybody's like,
so what does it have to do with Jews in general? I don't
know. They were just like making fun of him, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, and the guy who hit him was like this typical, waspy Irish. Last name was like Donahue or something like that, giant.
Dude, that's what I was doing to Irish dudes when I was playing football.
So you're bigger. You're relatively.
I know some of us. We're not all small and skinny.
No, but so at that time I was like, there was a bunch of us who were like, I wasn't small. I was tall, but I wasn't huge.
You could have been a wide receiver. I mean,
so I thought about going after that I was I could have because that's what I played in when I was playing just with friends. But then after that happened, I was like, I am not going across no damn middle, and I'm not getting laid out by this freaking mongoloid freaking thing that I see every day in the hallway. I'm not taking a freaking tackle from that dude. Screw that stuff. So what happens? I try out I ended up playing hockey for the last 2 years of high school. My high school didn't have a hockey team, but I tried out for the house league thing in the local rink.
Yeah.
What happens? They put me on defense. I played forward, but they put me on defenseman. I was tall, but the thing is, I was used to, when I played roller hockey, I was used to just putting my head down, because I know I'm not going to nobody's hitting anybody in roller hockey. Put your head down, because, you're looking at the puck. The first shift, I get the puck behind the net, I put my head down, and next thing I know, I'm literally, in the air. And is this, half... I think he was half Asian, half white guy. This dude who had to have been, I think at the time I was already 6'1" or 5'11", and this kid for sure was 6'2", and he was big. I was just that was the moment where I was like, okay, welcome to actual real hockey. And my dad was watching this. He was just like, Greg, what happened? I'm like, I have no idea. I wouldn't even be able to tell you. After that, I was 14 years old. After that, for the next 4 years, I basically, I knew to keep my head up as much as possible.
Yeah, I noticed something around the age of 12, right? That, I don't know if it was because I'm Jewish or maybe this is just for everybody. You know what I mean? But whenever somebody finds an opportunity to do something to you, either flip you, knock you down, or go off on you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or point out something. Somebody is always looking to yell at you about something, to complain about you, to hit you. So a kid is not born expecting that around every corner.
Sure. I know.
Right? So I saw that when I was, I guess, 12, and then life became a little bit easier after I noticed that, because you could just count on that.
Yep.
There's somebody waiting to go off, spring loaded. Everybody this in one way or another.
Yeah. And they were ready to go off on Jews. And I know that because I think I was the only Jewish kid on my team. And I would always hear.
It could have been, that could have been it, or maybe just that's what it's like everywhere for everybody.
Dude, my nickname on my hockey team was Schnoz. Okay, that's what it was. They literally called me Schnoz for 2 years until I graduated high school. I was known as Schnoz. I remember I scored 2 goals, and this one guy's like, I know he hated Jews. He goes, oh snap, if Schnoz scores a hat trick, he's going to do backflips. I was like,
yeah, I know. There's always this is just kind of low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Dudes, you know what I mean?
There was nothing inventive there. It's like these guys.
They're just waiting to say. People just wait. They're always waiting to say something. You know what I mean? That's it. I just So when you realize that, you stop giving them reasons. You know what I mean? You just kind of. I don't know. I just knew that just that consciousness that's in every situation. There's somebody who can't wait and a lot of times it's like a teacher or a principal or even a rabbi.
Sure.
Every now and then.
Yeah. I've had that. I had that in yeshiva. I had that in my yeshiva where there was like this one rabbi who just like, I don't know if he had it in for me or what. Every time I would say something or ask a question, he just had his look on his face like I'm asking. I don't know. It was just very strange.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like, and then I remember asking a friend of mine, like, dude, what's this guy's deal? He's like, oh, this rabbi feels threatened by dudes who are like, who they, you know, I wasn't no Talmid Chacham. But I had just questions that I had were questions that a lot of guys didn't have, just about different things, you know, whether it was hashkafa or halakha questions or different things, you know. Or ideas that I would bring up, you know, about whatever it was, and this guy, you know, he just didn't, you know, he's the teacher. You're not gonna bring him Hiddushim, you know. How dare you bring him Hiddushim that he can, you know, that you guys can now bring out and share with the class or whatever it is. You know?
I got you. He's like he goes. Come on, I'll be the.
Like that kind of stuff. Right? Like I wasn't even trying to be the teacher. I'm just asking questions. You know what I mean? And my friend told me, he's like, yeah, this dude,
no, some people they don't like to be in situations where they don't know how to answer.
Either not know how to answer,
but I've seen rabbis handle situations like that where they didn't know something, right? So they said, no, I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah, I respect that.
Go see what you can find out. Let me know.
Yeah, I respect that. But some of these guys just get into they get uncomfortable. They turn red. They get uncomfortable. You know, usually it's like a question, it's a question that is akin to some of the stuff that you and I talk about with relation to Torah, and which would make most Haredi rabbis uncomfortable. You know, but I would ask those questions. So it's like,
I noticed when I get into situations like that, I just realize it's better not to ask. Like, you just find out who you could actually talk to.
Exactly.
It takes a little while to figure out that you can't talk to literally everybody.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
I was under the impression
not everybody's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy actually gave off the impression that he was like a very kind of how should I put this? Like not modern. He's not definitely wasn't modern, but that he was down with what was going on in the world. Let's put it that way, you know? And that, you know, I put him on kind of this level where I thought he would be able to, but not only did he couldn't, he went into like attitude mode with me, you know, and felt like threatened. I was just like, okay. Yeah, and then a few of my friends confirmed it. I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. Yeah, they're like, yeah, this guy's a dick.
No,
he's a dick. They're like, okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you know, for the most part, but I guess like you either make a decision. Like I'm talking about guys who grow up in non-religious families. They don't know anything, and then they come to it on their own, and then they go to a place. They realize that for the most part they're on their own.
Yeah, correct.
Meaning, like for most things, it's really just up to you
Yep.
to find out the answer.
Yep.
No one's going to go out of their way to help you, you know, find the sources that have the answers to your particular difficulties.
Exactly.
Right? They want you. They're just going to want to tell you what they say, and then they get mad at you when that doesn't work for you.
Yeah, when that doesn't fit.
That's usually happens.
Yeah.
So you're on your own, and then every now and then, God will throw you a bone. You'll hear some rabbi, some lecture somewhere, you know, like 2 years later, answering a question you had 2 years prior, and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like,
not only that, there's so many moments that I had afterwards where it was like breath of fresh air. You know, where I would go to, let's say, different yeshivas and I would see how they do it, or like, you know, just some rabbi to see how he talks about a certain thing, certain topic, and I was like, my God, where has, you know, I've had so many moments where it was, you know, I said, where has this been all my life? Like, breath of fresh air. And then I would ask the guy, I'm like, how come they're not doing it like this way or talking about it this way in the other place? They're like, because they're stuck in a system. Usually it's like some Israeli rabbi. They would tell me like, oh, they're stuck in a system, they're stuck in a mindset, whatever it is. And I'm just like, isn't it? I got to a point where it's just started asking, isn't the Torah? It's like about life. Like it's an applicable book.
The Torah has nothing. Unfortunately, the Torah has nothing to do with this.
For my life, no, not the Torah. I know it has nothing, but I'm saying it shouldn't. The application of the Torah be for my life, my effed up life, that has, me going to a bar in Jerusalem, and some women who are, tzniut, some women who are not. About Shuva girl, who's like I don't know, in the Neve, but she's not quite whatever, and hitting on me, whatever it is, we're flirting with each other. What do I do? The Torah must have answers for these situations. The typical answer is just don't go to the bar, right? But you can't, you're like, everybody's going to the bar. Everybody with kippah and tzitzis is going to that damn bar after Seder. What are you supposed to do?
Right, you can't be honest about it. That's all. You know what it is? I just kind of put it into words.
Yeah.
The rabbis, they get a lot. We're not saying the rabbis in general. We're talking about some rabbis that we have had interactions with. Okay.
Yes.
They're like, you ask them questions about specific circumstances, like what you were talking about, bars in Jerusalem or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they get mad at you.
Yep.
Right? And they don't want to answer your question. Either they don't know how or they don't want to.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're like, look, we created system for you to keep you safe. Everything is taken care of. Just put on the suit, put on the hat, go to where we go at the times when you go, and then that's how to avoid all trouble. Don't you want to go and not do that? I don't have time for you.
Is that Mizrahi? That's Mizrahi, right?
I guess I'm doing Mizrahi, but I'm just
it's like a lame Mizrahi. It's like Mizrahi who just kind of.
I told you I don't hate him enough. I don't hate him at all. I don't hate him at all, actually.
Yeah.
But he just says so much dumb shit.
Yeah. No, whatever.
He's not smart.
He actually is smart. I think he's pandering to the.
He plays dumb. I mean,
he doesn't play dumb. The things that he's saying is pandering to a particular borough. 2 boroughs in New York City.
He's constantly talking shit about Rabbi Friedman.
Of course.
Because what Rabbi Friedman said, the God needs us.
Yeah.
What he talking about God needs us? And he's the lefty in the middle of Tel Aviv.
Yeah, he's like, what is this Epicurus?
Zionist, but this guy more dangerous than him.
Epicurus rabbi. Who made this guy rabbi? Yeah, he talks stuff about my rabbi. He's talking about the gays and say it's okay if you only knew how many. He mentioned gays. That there's gay guys.
Right, so first of all, he's lying about it.
He's avoiding reality. No, he's avoiding reality.
No, hold on a second. What Rabbi Mizrahi is doing, he's slandering people, and not just saying bad things, but also misrepresenting them.
The problem is that people slander him, and he gets upset when they slander him, so what does he do? He slanders them back. It's stupid.
Who slanders? I don't understand.
There have been people who have there have been people who have taken, they've taken like a 3-hour lecture that he's done. If I've taken like 30 seconds out of it, and they've run with it, and to make him look bad. So he gets upset. He's like, this liberal lefty took the lecture and went all over the place that I said this and this and this and they, whatever, and they're claiming that they're with the Torah and blah blah blah. He starts with this whole. It's crazy, man.
Right. So so he's kind of on that like anybody who has a different like. Hashkafa.
Yeah, it's basically an Epicurus.
He's not even Jewish.
Yeah, it's an Epicurus. No, it's a Jewish. It's an Epicurus. It's a liberal lefty.
Whatever, he's out. He's out.
He's out. Yeah. Russia just imposed sanctions on Hunter Biden, Hillary Clinton, in addition to Joe Biden and Blinken. Okay, whatever. Hope they do.
I hear dumb shit, and I don't understand. And it's just like. I read stuff like that. I see these, and it's news that is just, what is it? It's a placeholder. It's garbage. It's nothing. Why are they wasting my time, even with the announcement? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't understand why anybody should care. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's who the hell? Obviously, they're not going to Russia. You know what I mean? Like, why does that even matter to anybody? I don't get it.
Yeah. Listen to this. Senate votes 57-40 to revoke the mask mandate for public transportation. Democrats who voted yes. some guy named Bennett. These are Democrats who are like more conservative Democrats. Bennett, re-election in 2022. Cortez Masto, re-election in 2022, up for re-election. Hassan, I don't know who this is, re-election in 2022. Kelly, re-election in 2022. And then you get the Manchin, the conservative guy. Rosen, Cinema from, I think it's Arizona. And Tester. Republicans who voted no. Guess who? Who voted to keep the max mandate? Guess who?
Romney, McConnell.
Very good. No, just one.
Levine.
Only one. Romney. Only one. It's not as bad as you think. But Romney, I don't
Ben, you're really swing and a miss with Romney, Ben. Swing and a miss.
Oh, he likes Romney? Ben Shapiro likes Romney?
He was always sticking up for Romney. They were friends, and
Romney is this deep state neocon.
He was almost like Romney's intern or something like that.
Dude, Romney worked with Bibi in that firm in Boston back in the day. I forget the name of it. They're a bunch of
not a point for Bibi.
Yeah, exactly. This is when Bibi was doing that whole bend the tie. The debate with that Palestinian guy in the 70s.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I picture this meeting of the, of these the highest up, the swamp rats, right?
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about DC. I'm talking about the world swamp rats. Schwab and all these people, right?
Yeah.
And then Romney is there, and Mitch McConnell is there, and all the rhinos, all the Democrats, all these people, right?
Yeah.
And who's in charge and who's planning everything? I think guys like Romney.
Yeah,
Romney is definitely one of them.
For sure.
And he's like, okay, so we're obviously a uniparty. We got to make it look like there's some conflict.
Yeah,
there's some kind of thing going on. We got to entertain the folks at home.
He was a patsy against Obama in 2012. They used him as a patsy.
Right, but who takes on the responsibility of doing the controlled opposition? Oh no, that has to go to our best. Only our best guys. Only the guys. The most. You can't just give that to anybody. You got to make sure the job is done right. McConnell, Romney, they're worse. They're worse than 5,000. AOCs.
Yep, of course.
Okay, I'm channeling Rabbi Mizrahi.
Yeah.
They're worse than
all the AOC put together. This liberal lefty. If you only knew. Go ahead, them.
What does he know? By the way, when he says that, if you only knew, does he know? Has he been there?
No, he's talking about the Kabbalistic ramifications of doing something, and he's talking about secular people. They don't know what they're doing. So it's if they only knew what they're doing in Shamayim, what it says in the Zohar, if they only knew, they would lose their minds. They would get
That's another thing that he does. He misrepresents the Zohar
exactly
as if it's supposed to be taken literally.
Does
he know it's not?
They would get the shock of their life.
No, but I'm asking you, does he know it's not?
I don't know. I don't know what he knows or doesn't know. I don't know.
That's the problem. He doesn't know.
You know what his strategy is? His strategy is like this. I'm going to scare as many people into tshuva. Whoever retains, whoever stays. He's basically trying to kill a fly with a cannonball. That's what he's trying to do. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's trying to do. It's a strategy. It's his strategy. He's co-opted the strategy. He has, how should I put this? He has cornered.
You mean what you mean is a fly trap, one of those hanging things, right? Whatever sticks. That's what gets saved. Everybody else is gone. I tried to save the world.
Yeah. But and then he goes runs. Nobody. He's like, I asked the question. It's kind of like the question you ask: how many people did this person cure? The only difference is your brother actually, helped. Treated them. It's like how many people you treated. But except in your brother's case, it's true. He treated the people. But then Mizrahi's
right. That's another massive strike against Mizrahi.
Exactly.
In terms of whether or not he's actually a good guy. You know what I mean? Because if that's what you do, what about? Are you sure, Rabbi Mizrahi? How positive are you that you're not leading people astray to their death?
No, here's the thing. I will tell you that by me and this is, just to continue what I was saying in terms of my personal story. When I used to hear him in the beginning, when I was in the clubs, DJ, whatever. By me, it became a thing where, here I am, this like set kind of more or less traditional guy, and I'm listening to a very, very Haredi. He's a Haredi, essentially his hashkafa is Haredi, right? Take away all the stuff he does for Bali Tshuva. He lives in Muncie. He's a Haredi person, right?
Yeah, he's super. I know.
Yeah,
Super
he has a yeshiva, whatever it is, right? So I didn't realize that. All I know is that I'm listening to a guy talking about clubs, and it resonates with me. It's true, because he was talking about some guy that was like, there was a clip actually. I can send it to you. He's like, I knew this guy. He played in the Limelight. They're paying him $2,000 a gig. They're flying him out to Caribbean and this and Europe and that. And then he came to me, Rabbi, he wanted to become religious. I don't know what to do. I'm going to lose my parnassah. And now he play $1,800 a gig for the wedding and this, whatever it is. So I was just like, wow, like that. I wasn't going to go do wedding gigs, because I can't, whatever. That's not my style. But the point was that this guy, I actually managed to pull a guy out of the clubs, not just one guy, a few guys like that, by, talking to them in a language they could understand. And I was listening to him for a very long time. Also because he was talking about a lot about current events, always talking about like, Iran and the Arabs and, liberal lefties. I was like, really, he would dedicate like the first 30 minutes, he still does, the first 30 minutes to every lecture, maybe an hour, to just current events. What's going on in Israel, what's going on in the world, what's going on in America, and how it's connected to, he goes, this is leading us to Zechariah 14, Ezekiel 37. What it describes, the people's eye sockets that pop out of their heads. He's like, literally trying to like scare people that there's going to be like nuclear war. I'll tell you something, man. Some of the stuff he said, like, look around you. Like, is he that far off? I mean, it took a while for it to manifest, But is he that wrong? I don't think so.
I mean, I don't know what he said that was...
He was talking about, if the Jewish people don't do tshuva and this, Hashem, the typical thing, like Hashem is going to do it nice, Geulah, or we're going to have...
Yeah, but why if that's the case, and why was he led astray, right? And he talked crap about my brother, right?
I don't know.
And for people...
Because just like other people, he listens to sound bites. He doesn't know. He gets his information from other people.
Right. That's exactly what he sounds like. He sounds like a person who doesn't listen very much and talks more.
He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't. I spoke to an Israeli Rav in Muncie, and I asked him about Mizrahi. He's like a Mekubal. I spoke to, like a legit Mekubal. I spoke to him, and I was like, "Can you just explain to me what's his deal?" Because he knew Mizrahi from like the area, or whatever. And he goes to me, he has an anger problem. He has anger problem. Dude, he has one of his sons is Mizrahi's sons. He has a problem with like he had, I don't know if still, but like drugs and stuff. That's why he feels so strongly about the whole drugs thing and all these kind of things. So listen, we don't know at the end of the day what goes on with people. Like we don't know, to say that how should I put it? To say that he doesn't make an effort would be saying something that's not true. He does. To say that he doesn't care, would be untrue.
It seems like it seems like he cared, but he's so callous.
Yeah, he's knee jerk about it, and yeah, listen. There's another rabbi, obviously we know, who also listened to sound bites of your brother. Again, we live in a soundbite culture, dude, and I think these rabbis are not immune to that, unfortunately.
I don't think that anybody would give Mizrahi the title rabbi like 80 years ago.
No, of course not. Dude, today we
have all these rabbis.
Dude, today the title rabbi just means teacher. Like I remember talking to this rabbi at Rage, and I asked him, I'm like, oh, where did you get smicha? He's like, because he went to like Aish or something. He's like, oh, I didn't get smicha, but he's been teaching for a while. He's a very smart guy, young guy, and he told me, he's straight up. He's like, the word rabbi today just means teacher. There's no such thing as like, there's smicha, but there's not even the smicha is not even real. It's not like the smicha, like that from the Tanaim, Smicha is dead. There hasn't been smicha in 2,000 years.
Nobody's talking about that smicha. We're talking about regular rabbi smicha. A rabbi who can be a rabbi of the congregation, the rabbi who can honestly answer your halachic questions and also has an understanding about hashkafa. And he also has what most rabbis had, the fifth book. They read the fifth book of the Shulchan Aruch. Mm-hmm. And for the folks at home, the Shulchan Aruch is the code of Jewish law, and there's only four. There's only four books, but sometimes they say that this rabbi, he even read the fifth book. The fifth book is wisdom and common sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to have all of that.
Yep.
And for the folks at home, you cannot imagine how much material there is to know and how much depth you're supposed to know it in. And on top of everything, it is one of the most thankless and most difficult jobs on the planet.
Yep. Exactly.
And if you can be sure to be poor and to always be struggling. Okay.
Yeah.
That seems to be most of these rabbis who the type I'm describing, the ones who fit the description of what a rabbi is supposed to be, they wouldn't even feel it. They wouldn't tell you, "Oh, I'm struggling," this and that. Because they're the type that's just grateful for whatever they get.
Yeah.
But to the outside, you're like, damn, this guy, rabbi has to get him some new shoes.
Yeah.
Like you got to change your shoes every 3 years or something like that. So,
funny.
That's what it looks like to us.
Yeah.
You know what? It's like if anybody's ever been to like 770, right?
Yeah.
You'll see that the Rebbe was treated with tremendous awe and respect, but he certainly didn't live in a palace.
No, I've been to that house. It was not a palace.
I've seen yeshiva bathrooms that were more fancy than the Rebbe's bathroom.
Hilarious.
You got to see how simple these people lived.
Yeah, for sure.
In their daily life, not just in appearance, but literally.
Yeah.
Because this whole world to them was just like a bench at a bus stop.
Yeah, of course. And I think that first of all, that Rabbi Kessin got a smicha from Moshe Feinstein. You know that, right?
Mm.
He did.
That is a real smicha.
Yep. Oh yeah, big time.
You can't mess with that.
Yeah, you cannot.
Just say the word Moshe Feinstein to me and I'm there.
Exactly.
Actually, those are 2 words.
Yeah.
Should be 3 words. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein.
Yeah. Rav Moshe.
He was a handsome dude, by the way.
Yeah, he's a decent looking guy. It's like I feel like I'm what's his name? Burt Reynolds. Yes, he is this decent looking guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Rav Moshe, yeah,
handsome,
good guy.
Yeah. Holy man.
Holy man,
guy. Yeah.
What is
Anal bum cover.
Anal what? Oh my god. We went from Rabbi Moshe Feinstein to anal bum cover.
You're the one who started with Celebrity Jeopardy.
Oh my god. Yeah, but I didn't want to go to...
That's an album cover.
Mr. Connery. Oh, Trebek, we meet again. That's not what your mother said last night, Trebek.
My mother's in a nursing facility in Calgary.
Alberta, yeah. He's like, I hate my life. I hate this job.
This is the sound a doggy makes.
It's so weird. I love when they had who's the guy imitated Robin Williams? I think it was Jimmy Fallon played Robin Williams.
That's Jimmy Fallon,
Celebrity Jeopardy, yeah.
He's like, I feel like punching you. He's like, ooh, ah. He's like,
yeah. Oh look, don't be afraid.
It's crazy. By the way, somebody reposted you. Somebody.
Oh yeah, in a Getter or where?
Yeah.
There was
did you see it?
Yeah, there was a bunch of people that they. Oh my god! Wow. Yeah, my Stalin post. Ron Coleman did, right?
He did because I reposted it after he followed me.
Nice.
See? The wheels are turning, man.
Thank you, Ron.
We hit the big time.
You wrote thank you, Ron, but you didn't tag Ron. Like, you didn't at Ron, so I don't know if you saw that you wrote thank you, Ron.
No, I think he saw it.
Okay.
Or somebody saw it.
Oh, okay.
All right, let me see.
Let's see who else other red check marks retweeted. Yeah, just him. Coleman.
There are some accounts that are like legit with a lot of followers that don't have the red check mark. I'm not sure how they decide who gets a check mark. So far, I haven't got one.
Yeah, I don't know what the story is with this whole.
And I'm still not on Truth Social. My wife got on it. I'm still 233,000.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah.
I need answers, Greg.
I don't know.
You, mister, answer me.
By the way, you know that, what's her face, that girl on Twitter who's been like running your brother through hell and
Libby
back.
Markowitz?
Yeah, Mars. Somebody wrote to her a message. He goes, yeah, so your brother wrote, look who is tied to connected to the Gates Foundation, our one and only nurse practitioner, Libby Marcus. I wonder how much money she gets for coercing our fellow brothers and sisters towards a poison death shot. And it's like a message. Hi, Blimy, this is Naor Barzev. Just thought you'd like to know. I was in a high-level meeting at the Gates Foundation. The work you and your colleagues do was brought up by very senior people at the foundation as an example of how to tackle outbreaks globally. It was lovely to see your work acknowledged. Best wishes, Naor. Ugh, I want to puke. This is the worst, honestly, man. I really, when these like non-Jews or whatever people have nothing to do with us, do all this stuff, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. Not whatever, but like. I know
like, we have to expect it anyway, right?
Yeah, I've expected, but when it's these kind of people, and it's just it's literally worse than any Trudeau. I'm sorry to say, it's worse. It's the most poisonous, horrible. Erev Rav.
It doesn't. I mean, it really shouldn't surprise us because they've been at it for at least 300 years.
Yeah.
Since the Haskalah began, the so-called, European Enlightenment movement, they've been infiltrating and destroying religious Jewish communities since that time.
Dude, who's where they've populated recently? They've been populating these people that you just described, these fake religious people. They've been populating. Oh my God. They've been populating. What is it called? Jerusalem.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty primary target.
Yeah.
And we commit the sin that America commits, just regular, normal Americans. We don't pay attention to it. We just let it happen. And then we can barely do anything about it once it's embedded. It's like it takes generations to root it out.
Yeah.
So, damn.
I don't know what else to say about it. Yeah, she's still going on her Facebook. She's still talking stuff about your brother. It's really crazy. I don't know. It's really crazy.
How's she look though? She hot?
She's alright. She just looks one of these people like you look at her and if she was actually a good person, if she was a good person, she would actually command.
She'd look better, right?
She would command a better rating from the manosphere than she does. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. If she was a good person,
married probably, right?
I don't know if she's married. I don't know if she's what her story is.
No, she's probably married. We shouldn't talk about it or whatever. Moving on.
Yeah, I'm just saying objectively, like, there's women. Let's forget about her for a second. There's some women who you meet them and you would be like, wow, if only you were nice, you'd be like a 9.
Yeah, you ever see that movie? I forgot what it's called. 9. It's with Chandler.
Oh,
Friends.
The whole 9 yards. Yeah.
That's the one with Bruce Willis as a murderer, right?
Yes, he's shooting fish.
Right, and he's like he's trying to get the murderer next door, Bruce Willis, to kill his wife. Yeah. And then I don't remember what the context was, but he's like, why don't you can go sleep with her? He goes, I'm not attracted to her. He goes, and then he's talking about Rosanna Arquette, who was a physically attractive woman, and he's like, "You're not attracted to her, really?" He goes, "She's not a good person."
It's hilarious.
This is the hitman saying that.
Yeah. Listen, people can sniff it out. It's really. What can you say? People can sniff it out. And listen, I met so many girls who were like, it's funny. Like sometimes they'll set me up with these girls. The Shulchanim. This is when I used to actually go to Shulchanim. I don't anymore. And then there would be this whole thing of like, I either meet the girl or I see the girl, a picture of her, and I pretty much get an idea of what the girl's about. The girl is ostensibly attractive, but there's other things that pop up, and you realize like, okay, this girl's not for me, right? And then the thing is like the Shulchanim, to them it's like, well, you should be thankful that I gave you this ostensibly, objectively attractive woman on paper. So then they'll be like, what's wrong with her? What don't you, what's the issue? Why don't you want to go out with her? And it's like, I've always had this like, not trouble explaining it, but just kind of like this how should I put this? Friction with these people having this conversation and explaining to them, this girl is, she's all Barbie dolled up, but she's not for me. For other reasons, And they can't understand. They're like, what's the problem? Just get married, And you put your mind.
They don't like to work, man. Nobody likes to work. They created an algorithm that should work. Why are you frustrating the algorithm?
Exactly. Don't throw a glitch in our operation by actually having.
Oh, you got to be the one. You got to be that one. That one guy. That one holdout, right?
Oh man, it's like no wonder you're annoying. You're picky. You're this, and I'm like, listen, excuse me from wanting to marry a woman who has some sort of depth. And yes, it just so happens that I'm attracted to her. Please excuse me for that.
What do you mean attractive? You want to talk with women like women don't like jokes.
Exactly.
You go in the morning, you go to shul, you go to work, you come home, she makes the dinner, you go to sleep.
Exactly.
And then on Shabbat, you turn the light off, you go, you make a baby, and then she go to play cards with the women, you go to the shul, and that's it. What's the problem? What's wrong with this?
I had a guy.
You don't like it?
Listen, I had a guy, a very nice guy. One of my guy I used to learn with. He's a Baal Tshuva guy who became very stark. He actually married into like the Feinstein family, which is kind of crazy.
Tell the folks at home what stark means.
He became very frum. He became, like, in terms of culturally, he became like a black hat guy. And I remember we were talking once, this is like a few years ago, and he goes to me, sorry, I'm just like squeezing out mayonnaise, it sounded like something else. He goes to me, he's asking me what I'm looking for. I'm like, yeah, listen, I'm looking for a girl I can like actually have some level of intelligent discussion. He's like, and he goes to me,
You're like Prince Akeem.
No, you know what he said? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then you know what he goes to me? He's like, you don't need a Havrusa for a wife. I have a Havrusa. My Havrusa is my Havrusa. My wife's not my Havrusa. You don't need Havrusa for a wife. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, dude, you have to understand something. My parents, I come from a family where my parents are on the same level. These are both applied math people. They met in college. They could talk about anything with each other, more or less. So there's some things my father says my mother doesn't really understand. But more or less, they're on the same level, so that's what I'm used to, right? I'm not going to go turning myself into a square peg to try to put into a round hole. For lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, you don't need... He's telling me what I need and what I need and I don't need. I'm like, no, dude. You don't need that and you need that. I don't need what you need. We're different people. Don't tell me what I need.
You don't know what you need.
It's just
you need to just shut up.
Yeah,
I'm working on it. I'm working on the accent. I'm seeing if I can get into the spirit, if I can possess it. You know what I mean?
I told you about the Yemenite rabbi. What are you looking for? I said as a joke.
That's what I just did. Did the
don't say joke. Women don't like joke.
Yemenite rabbi back to you.
Yeah.
Girl don't like joke.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, there are. I just sat there and I was like, this Yemenite Neanderthal. Like,
Can I tell you, I almost became Yemenite myself. When I took Stuyvesant and my friend Michael Levin and my friend Corsia, we went on a birthright trip, kind of like a birthright trip, but it was with Yeshiva and Kfar Chabad.
My goodness.
Yeah. And we went to stay at Nachaliel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they placed, was it Nachaliel or was it? I think it was Nachaliel, and they placed us with different families, to stay for Shabbat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to make Stuyvesant religious, right? And Costa and Michael Levin. So Stuyvesant and Costa, I think, they get put up with a family who have a nice teenage daughter, right? A few years younger. 16,
Oh no!
Right? So she literally in a 1.5 hour conversation unravels all the work I put in on them for like a year, 3 years.
Yeah.
So I get so mad. I've never done anything like this in my life.
Oh,
I didn't know what to do with myself. I'm like that. I was like, I wanted to kill her. Seriously. I went to the rabbi of the town who was a Yemenite. Right?
That's really funny.
And I was so frustrated. I didn't even go to complain about her. I just needed someone to talk to.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I don't know. I don't want anything to happen to her, obviously, but like, what can I do? And he's like, no, we hit her with stick. And then he started laughing. Obviously, it was a joke. He was trying to make me laugh, he was joking.
You found the rabbi base stick man of the Yemenite, the Yemenite base stick man.
Rabbi stick man. It sounds like a rabbi. Hi, this is my friend, Rabbi Stickman.
Stickman, Rabbi Stickman.
Still Stickman.
Dude, that's hilarious. Yeah, man, that's like the worst when you go to these like FFP people, and one of them is like not down with the program, and then they start to throw a wrench in your operation.
Started to remember now. I didn't go to complain about the girl because the girl's like whatever, she's 15,
Yeah.
I mean, we were 18 at this time, and she was like 15.
Yeah. It's like, what do you know?
Even when I was 18, 15 looked like 15 to me.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to slap the guy whoever was responsible for placing them in that house.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
It wasn't the girl.
Yeah.
I was like,
because you can't blame her.
What kind of a moron?
Yeah. So how did what's his name become religious? It wasn't through you, was it?
I may have had something to do with it, but he's had other, he's come into contact.
I told you he was one of the first guys who was my teacher at Rage, and I still remember what he taught, the shir that he gave, more or less, what the topic was.
To me it makes sense that he was the one guy from my group of friends who actually came from. He's the smartest out of all of them.
Okay. Sometimes it's not about smarts. I know other guys who are smart, equally as smart, but did not go in that path.
See, it's smart is always. You never know what anybody means when they say that.
Yeah.
I can only tell you what I mean.
Okay.
So first of all, I think he's smart on two levels. He's a math genius, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why he went into law. Okay. I think he wasted his talent. Okay. And
it's called money.
He has a deeper understanding of things. He does.
Yeah.
He does. He's a very smart kid, and he's had it very, very rough.
I know.
It just it's like that. You can almost be guaranteed. Yep. There's like this episode of what's that name of that show? It's not an old show. It's kind of, I think it might be still on. With the hot Colombian broad and the guy from
Oh, Modern Family.
Ted.
Ted Bundy. Modern Family. Al Bundy. Modern Family.
Yeah, Al Bundy, right?
Modern Family.
Yeah, Modern Family, right? Right. So there's this one episode. I didn't watch too many episodes, but there's this one episode where they went to Australia, and the father, not Al Bundy, the other guy. He loves his son-in-law. He loves Australia, and but he kept getting like all this bad stuff kept happening to him. When he was there, right? He got bitten by, some kind of poisonous thing, and he fell down and he hurt himself. He got a rash. He got beaten up. He got, every, misfortune that you can imagine while visiting a place. And then, the idea was, I don't remember where he got this, but that Australia beats up those that it loves.
Yeah.
If you're an Australian, you get beat up.
Yeah.
Everybody else it leaves alone.
That's funny.
Right? So how do you know if Australia loves you? You're getting beaten up. You're getting put through the gauntlet, as they say.
That's really weird.
Right? And it kind of feels like that when you become frum.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Things are going well.
Yeah.
You're not unhappy, right?
Yeah.
It's great. You're getting laid. You're making money.
Yeah.
You got your six-pack. Everything seems peachy keen, as they say.
Yeah.
I'm trying to use old expressions like Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
He's like that. Oh, that sauce is hotter than a $2 pistol. He says stuff like that. So, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it seems like that. Like I have a friend. I'm not going to say his name. He was actually here in Miami. He's one of the original families that I used to go to. He would invite me over for Shabbos. Very generous guy. He's a convert. His whole family's converts. And, he was successful and everything. He became religious, lost everything.
That's crazy.
It's not funny. It's just that, it's like, why, God?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
why
don't you give us some more resources,
Because you got to pay it back for the things when you made money on... It's a famous thing, when you made money on Shabbos.
What about the idea of, like, using what we got for, to promote...
Yeah, sometimes people don't have that. I agree with you. Listen, I asked the same question of God, but clearly...
I was so sure God was going to make me successful, like financially, and everything I tried because of what I want to use it for. And I've been like this since I was 14. Yeah. I'm like, surely if I try this, God will bless it because He knows what I intend to do with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then no, He just didn't.
Yeah, I know. I know.
And it's just so mysterious. It's like, damn.
Yeah, it's
kind of like it's like the 80s. You know what I mean? It's like, why did the 80s have to go away? Why couldn't it end there?
Yep, it's the same. It's the same mystery that we'll never understand until it comes time to, then until the time comes when we'll be shown why.
It seems like, absolutely, man. It seems like all God has to do in order to change the world, right, is to just remove the chain off of those who really want to do something good.
Well, you realize this is where I want to get into the whole, Rabbi Kessin always says that he's like, that's the whole, and that's why I disagree with him, and I think that Mashiach ben Yosef is us, because
it is us.
Mashiach ben Yosef is chained. He cannot actualize himself. The people that are supposed to be actualizing themselves to really affect the world, like in a real way. Not just sell Amazon tchotchkes and whatever it is. I'm talking about real, serious stuff. That is being held down. We see it, and it's not just with us. We see it all over the place. We see it. We really do see it. It's a real thing. And I think that is Mashiach ben Yosef. It's Mashiach ben Yosef who's in prison.
As soon as the moment I discovered Rabbi Kessin, lecture when he started, he was talking. I discovered him because I was doing searches about Mashiach ben Yosef. Yeah. So I heard that like the first day, and I've been hearing that ever since. And it's like he keeps describing Mashiach ben Yosef, and everybody I'm sure I'm not the only one that felt this way. I was like, he feels like he's describing me.
Yeah, I know. I felt the same way. Not to say that I think I'm Sheikh Ben Yosef, but I think it's us collectively.
Right. That I should clarify. I didn't think I was Mashiach Ben Yosef.
Yeah.
I just the experience, the frustration that Mashiach Ben Yosef was going through.
Yeah, no matter what you
felt like.
No matter what you do, no matter what you do, it's just.
I feel like if God would just remove my chain, I could like fix major chunks of stuff that's going on.
Listen, it's like that song, from Coldplay. You try your best and you don't succeed. You get what you want, not what you need. Stuck in reverse. That's the lyrics. Stuck in reverse.
I actually don't know.
Yeah.
And I feel like making fun of you for knowing Coldplay lyrics.
Dude, I used to go to Coldplay live are amazing. I went to see them I think at least twice live. They are great live. They're a great live band.
Dude, I liked them when they came out, right? What was that? What was their original song? Like their
Yellow.
big song?
Yellow, or and it was all yellow.
Right. I can't recall right now exactly what it was.
Lights go out and I can't be saved. Yeah.
That might have been it, right? And then I was like, that's cool. And I was talking to my friend Oren, who I haven't spoken to in years. I hope he's doing well, right? And he's a smart guy, and he's very informed culturally and all that kind of stuff. Persian Jewish guy, very very sophisticated dude. And I was like, we were listening to that Coldplay song. I was like, I like him. You like Coldplay? He's like, I don't trust him.
That's really funny.
I don't know why, but
that's
it was
really
so
funny.
I don't know. I don't trust them.
Do you know why? Because they are a poor man's U2. That's why people like them. They have the similar sound. That's exactly what they are.
Is that them like?
That's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that song I actually presented it at we had to pick a song for literature class in college.
Yeah.
And just present the lyrics and interpret what they are. Like read them out as like poetry, So I presented that song.
Some of these songs, like just the melody, right, and they're like the whole feeling that they're trying. It feels like it almost feels like you're circling an emotional drain. Like you're like.
It's like a little bit taskliva, as we say in Russian. Taskliva.
You know what I mean? It's like, you feel like
why? Because it's hipstery white guys.
Dude, you have to find and play right now. Right now.
Okay.
You have to find Patrice O'Neill discusses white guys. Hold on, let me see.
Yeah.
When he was dissecting the song "Creep," by
Here. White guys are useless, right? So racism. Creep.
No. Yeah. That's a different thing.
Creep as in from the... Oh, here you go. O'Neill breaks down the Radiohead's Creep, hilarious. The
yes. Okay, play it loud and proud.
Hold on. Hold on, it's an ad.
Now, loser. Remember when you was prime? It's the name Chef Patrice O'Neill ripping it up in studios at Cobb's all week and make sure you guys support Patrice. You got a lot of stuff going on, dude. Professor Whiteness and stuff. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we want to.
Yeah.
When?
When? What do you mean when?
Oh, is this music sounds like get out of the room music?
No.
Get out of the room.
See you, Patrice. We'll talk about it after the show.
It just got louder.
Get out of the room. You're trying to drown him out.
Talk about it with this wife. Come on. We're still doing the radio show.
Well, my show is called Patrice O'Neill's Guide to White People.
Yeah.
Hopefully Comedy Central will pick it up.
They better, man.
And all it is, basically, is I think white people have had a bad rap. And my character in the show teaches others from other countries and people in this country that this is white man's world. And I'm going to teach you things on how to get along with them. Because I've been fighting with white people my whole life. So the best way to know is know your enemy. And I'm pretty good at knowing white people. So I'm just going to go and make sure you understand the music, what passive aggression is. It's very important. You cannot meet passive aggression.
Speaking of passive aggression.
What does white people...
Dude, just listen.
You know what? It's like music that means things to them. Like for instance... I love quote unquote white people music. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Hip
I
hop is black people music.
Yeah.
But not just rock and roll, but like, okay, here's a couple of things I didn't know. I didn't know Neil Young was such a beloved white figure in music. He's beloved, and he should be investigated, and people should know, like black folks and any other should know how important Neil Young is as an artist to white people, and how important the song "Creep" is.
Oh my God. What you say bad about that?
The magic of this song "Creep." It's when I heard it, I'm like, oh, it's a good song. And then I seen videos, and it's mesmerizing to white people. They start floating. I'm a creep. I'm a loon.
There we go.
Dude, it just comes on me hard. I'm telling you, 7 people just crashed into the vein. They pulled over to cry or jump in the water.
It's like the sensitive side of white man.
But it's something about this song. It digs deep to this loserdom.
That all white people have?
That white people have this innate thing where they want to feel bad.
Yeah, they feel guilty. They feel guilty.
For Barack.
Exactly.
I'm a creep.
Exactly.
I didn't own slaves, but I'm a weirdo.
Exactly. Watch Stace. Exactly.
I'm gonna tell you the part too that I learned is very important to white folks. It's I'm telling you, I've been studying. I study, man. It's not. This is all. This feels good. Yeah. I wish I was special. You're so effing special.
It's like an angry guitar.
That digs into white people's soul.
Yeah.
That part. Does something to you. Look at him. He's crying. He's standing up straight.
They're standing up straight.
I'm telling you, my show is not about trashing white folk. It's about understanding. I think white people don't get enough understanding. We need to understand.
That was Patrice O'Neal dissecting Radiohead's Creep.
Creep means. Let me tell you something. How important that song is. At least 7 big-time bands have did a remake of Creep. As if it's from the 1920s. From 1993. And other bands with bigger names have done a cover of this song. It means something. People should know this.
I'm learning a lot about Patrice O'Neal this morning.
God.
Patrice, thanks for rolling in the studio, dude.
Thank you, man.
Always fantastic to see you at Cobb's Comedy Club. People, trust me, you will worship Patrice for the rest of your life. You go see him live. He completely rules. Patrice O'Neal, everybody, let's hear it for him.
Hey, guys. See you guys. Thanks, man.
Hilarious.
Dude, Patrice could have been like our white people messiah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, you know how they say Trump is, what is it, the Mashiach of Asaph? He was like the Mashiach of Asaph, yeah.
He's just like the Mashiach of like...
The Mashiach of Ham. The Mashiach of Ham.
Of creeps, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I'll tell you something, what he said about the Obama thing. Do you know how many these white MFers voted for Obama because they felt guilty about slavery? They said it outright. People said it outright at that time, 2008. Oh. They literally voted for Obama because they felt guilty. They felt, and the stupid part is, I remember there used to be a black pastor in Harlem who used to talk about Obama. He's like, this guy is not even African American. He is an African and a white. His mother is white. This whole thing. And dude, they this shows how racist these people are, because they would never vote for a real black guy like a Jesse Jackson. They would never vote for Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton. Okay? But Obama
Right. What I meant to say was like I feel like John Amos should have been the first black president.
Exactly.
You know, someone we know, like James Earl Jones.
Exactly. Or Samuel L.
Thomas,
they would never vote for Samuel L. Jackson for president.
Hell no.
But they vote for Obama because he's half white and he's palatable and he's...
I would never vote for Samuel L. Jackson either, but not because of anything, because he's Samuel L. Jackson.
Dude, can I show you what Obama said about... what Biden said about Obama back in the day? Here,
Sure.
here. Articulate. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go.
Wait. Who said this about Obama?
Here. I think it was Biden. Here. Somebody. It was either him. Here you go. Biden gaffes. I don't know if it's on video, but it's for sure. Yeah, a dubious compliment. I mean, you got the first mainstream African American who's articulate and bright and clean and nice looking. I mean, that's a storybook, man. Joe Biden describing fellow candidate Barack Obama.
Crazy. So crazy.
Like, AKA, ain't none of them articulate. I understand what he means when he says that.
Speaks so well.
But he exactly.
He knows how to talk.
Dude, it's literally like those white people in Scarface, you know, the ones he's sitting in the restaurant with, those people. Say goodbye to the bad guy. I'm the bad guy. He's like, you just know how to lie and hide. Like those white people, you know?
Dude, your Pacino is scary good, man.
Hooah. Charlie.
Hooah.
And I'll take, you know what? Let me do
California.
Here, let me do the scene when Scent of a Woman, the speech from when he gives a speech for his
Yeah.
Here at the end.
Nothing beats the taste of winning.
And I'll do like the impression as he's doing it. Here.
I'm going to recommend the disciplinary committee.
Blah blah blah. White guy expelled. Blah blah blah. Okay.
Excuse me?
Hold on.
A snitch.
He's not a snitch.
Excuse me?
No, I don't think I will.
No, I don't think I
Mr.
will.
Slade,
This is such a crock of shit.
This is such a crock of shit.
please watch your language, Mr. Slade. You are in the Baird School, not at barracks. Mr. Sims, I will give you one final opportunity to speak up.
Mr. Sims.
Mr. Sims doesn't want it.
He doesn't need to be labeled.
He doesn't need to be
Still
labeled. Still worthy of being a bad man.
What the hell is that?
What the hell is that?
What is your motto here?
What is your motto here?
Boys,
inform on your classmates.
Save your hide.
Save your hide.
Anything short of that, we're gonna burn you.
Anything short of that, we're gonna burn you at the stake. Well, gentlemen,
when the shit hits the fan, some guys run,
and some guys stay. Here's Charlie facing the fire. There's George hiding in Big Daddy's pocket. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
And what are you doing?
What are you doing?
You're gonna reward
George and destroy Charlie.
Are you finished, Mr. Slade?
No,
I'm just getting warmed up.
I don't know who
went here. William Howard Taft, William Jennings Bryan, William Tell, whoever. Their spirit is dead. If they ever had one, it's gone.
You're building a rat ship.
You're building a rat ship here. It's a vessel for seagoing snitches. And if you think you're preparing minnows for manhood, you better think again.
Because I say you are
killing the very spirit this institution proclaims and instills. What a shame.
What kind of a show you guys?
What kind of a show you guys running here?
I mean, the
only class in this act is sitting next to me.
And
I'm here to tell you, this boy's soul is intact.
It's non-negotiable.
It's non-negotiable.
You know how I know?
How I know?
Someone here,
I don't say who, offered to buy it.
Only Charlie here.
Sir, you're out of
Wasn't
order.
selling.
I'll show you
out of order.
You
don't know out of order is, Mr. Trash.
I'd show you, but I'm too old.
I told you, but I'm too old, too tired, I'm too fucking blind.
If I were the man,
I would take off flamethrower into this place. That's what I want to do sometimes.
I don't wanna. Who the hell do you think you're talking to?
I don't want to. Dude.
That's what
I've been around.
you know.
I think that was a bad idea.
What?
I think it was a bad idea what you're doing.
There's a time I could see boys younger than these.
Because when it's just you,
yeah,
right? You do a decent impression
of him. Here.
When,
So you know what?
When you're talking next to him, you don't sound like him.
I'll plug in earphones, and you can't hear him, and you'll hear me. You could see, I could see, and I have seen boys like these, younger than these, their arms torn off, their legs ripped off, but there knows nothing like the sight of an amputated spirit. There's no prosthetic for that. You think you're merely sending this splendid foot soldier back home to Oregon with a tail between his legs, but I say you are executing his soul. And why? Because he's not a bad man. Bad man. You heard this, boy? You're gonna be bad bums, the lot of you. And Harry, Jimmy, Trent, wherever you are out there, fuck you too. These kids are like, I'm not finished. As I came in here, I heard those words. Cradle of leadership. When the bow breaks, the cradle was fall. And it has fallen here. Fallen. Makers of men. Creators of leaders. Be careful. What kind of leaders you're producing?
Cut.
That's it?
No. You got it. Can we get a different actor, please? Someone who remembers their lines.
That's what it was. I'm copying him word for word.
I'm just joking.
You hear like the bell ringing. Cut.
At the end, you got to be like, and scene.
Mm-hmm. And scene. Charlie, I don't know what to tell you.
You know what? It just occurred to me. We were talking about something worthwhile before you took your little nap.
Mm. Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about, we talked about King David, and then we're about to talk about King Shaul, who got a real raw deal.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should talk about that for like 2 minutes.
We should talk about that. Okay.
But we'll save it for next time.
What?
I didn't want it to just like disappear into the ether.
That is absolutely absurd.
No, so basically, the problem I have is like the whole story of King Shaul doesn't make any sense. You know, it just seems like it was absurdly stacked against him. You know, like he couldn't do nothing right. Like he tried as hard as he could. He was a saint.
Yeah.
He was a prophet.
Yeah.
He was really the right guy for the job. Also physically, he was like head and shoulders taller than everybody in the country. He was the best looking dude around. Mm-hmm. It even says that in the text. The reason I'm bringing that up is because it says that because when he bumped into the prophet Samuel when his father sent him out looking for some cattle that got away. Yeah. Right. So him and his assistant, and when they're young boys, they went around the whole country looking for this cattle, and they ran into eventually they ran into Samuel, but before that, they stopped to ask these girls how to get to Samuel, and it says that they talked to him, and they asked him questions, and the famous commentary Rashi, he says that they kept talking. The girls, they kept him talking. They asked him. They spoke to him about stuff that didn't matter, just because he was handsome, and they wanted to continue looking at him. Yeah. All right. So that's why I brought that up. Yeah. And and then and his son Jonathan was even better. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and it's incredible what happened to him. You know what his mistake was? No. He was too humble. Can you believe that? Yeah. Okay. Like it feels like he got penalized for stuff that anybody else would be rewarded for. Mm-hmm. Interesting. He had an advisor whose name was Doeg. Mm-hmm. Right? That's Doug. He's a dick.
The hell?
Right from the South Park movie. Every time I hear about Doeg, I think about Doug from South Park. Mm-hmm. So blame Canada. Anyway, so basically, Doeg, he was, I guess technically, he was an advisor, a legal advisor. He was an expert in all legal matters. Mm-hmm. Okay, and he was like a Torah scholar, but not. He was like he kept it. To him, it was like a secular subject matter. Yeah. It wasn't something that affected him morally. It wasn't something that he felt a personal connection to, or something that helped him have a relationship with God. On the contrary, he used it as a weapon against God, essentially. Okay, wherever he could. You know, he was the Nachash in the story.
Yeah.
Doeg. Okay? And this guy is like, you know, unique in history.
Yeah.
Actually says that he lost his place in the world to come. One of the less than handful of people. And they called him Doeg HaAdumi, right? Doeg the Edomite.
Yeah.
But not because he was an Edomite. It's the nickname they gave him.
Yeah.
It's because Edom means red. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the word Edom comes from. It's Edumi, it's red. Okay? Reddish. And it says that when people would argue with him, right? When other legal scholars would argue with him, he could like outmaneuver them so completely that it would just be embarrassing. He would make them all. Yeah. Anybody who went against him, he could make them turn red with shame.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why they called him Doeg the Edomite, the red. Doeg the red.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So this was Shaul's main legal advisor, and it's not like by accident. He was a recognized primary legal advisor for the whole country at that time. Okay, so when the question came, when Samuel told Shaul to go and eradicate the Amalekites, and not just them, but all their animals and everything. Okay, so he promptly went to do God's will. Okay, but when it came to slaughtering the best animals, right, and the king, he wasn't sure if he was gonna kill them, no question. Yeah. But he wasn't sure if he was supposed to bring the best animals as an offering. And in terms of the king, I don't remember this, but I think this is my own speculation right about now. So take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. Yeah. But I think that he wanted to kill the king of Amalek, not publicly, but to make it more of a something that people are aware of. You understand? Yeah. That doesn't mean public execution. That means that he wanted to kind of like make an announcement that such a thing is occurring, and perhaps let the nations around know that justice is being done. So he was never intending not to fulfill the word of God. He just he wanted to kill the best animals because he wanted to offer them as a sacrifice. That's what you're supposed to do, essentially. That's what he was in the habit of doing. That's what everybody was in the habit of doing. To offer the best animals, not the least, right? You give those back to God, right? It's like a sign that we want God, we appreciate it. We give you the best. It's a sacrifice, okay? Yeah. In those days, the best animals that was a real sacrifice. Yeah. Okay, so that's where he went wrong. That he didn't absolutely, positively, kill everybody but the thing is, there is no wording. You're not going to find any wording in the text saying you must kill them all instantaneously, immediately, all at once, right? It's just make sure to eradicate everyone. Okay, so he was doing it. Yeah. Okay, so he just wanted to see if he can do a couple of things at once. Yeah. All right. So, and he got this advice from Doeg the Edomite. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Which it makes sense. Like Shaul, he's one of the greatest scholars in the country, and obviously, the greatest in terms of leadership and everything else. But he didn't think of himself as the greatest legal scholar. So what was the problem? Why was he so harshly punished? Because a king, apparently, this is what I learned. King is supposed to. God chooses a king because the king is the guy whom God gave the kingly intuition. A king's supposed to trust his own intuition, especially an Israelite king chosen by God. He's supposed to trust his intuition, and even if he's very humble and he doesn't have a lot of faith in himself, he should recognize that God chose him and that therefore there's a reason, and that there's some things about himself that he has some qualities that God found to be appropriate, prudent. Okay? And he didn't he didn't do that. Instead of listening to his own intuition, he deferred to the main legal authority, right? That's why he was so severely punished, and that's why he was made to go mad. It literally says in the text that Shaul is sitting there, he's doing fine. All of a sudden, God fills him with the spirit of the spirit of evil. Yeah. It says that in the text. Why? Yeah. Right. That's what every time like he tries to kill King David, right? And right before that, it says, and God filled him with the spirit of evil. Why? You understand? I mean, never has anybody had, like he was set up. Like, what? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, for sure. Can I read to you something from the Rebbe that he said in 1980 about Gog and Magog?
The Rebbe, sure. Yeah.
This is a transcription of what because he said it in Yiddish, so they just decided to transcribe it into English. He goes, Rebbe Yochanan, this is from ER 5740, in a I guess a Sicha, whatever you want to call it, for bringing, whatever. Rebbe Yochanan quotes Shimon Bar Yochai regarding the war of Gog and Magog. It seems like it is a terrible tragedy for the Jews, but as it says in Tractate Sanhedrin and other sources, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said King David ran from his son Avshalom, speaking of David, and he exclaimed, Ma Rabba Tzorei, how big are my problems? Whereas on the Pasuk, why do nations gather and people speak futility, he doesn't say, how big are my problems, but the opposite. On Yehugu Rik, speaking futility, Rashi and other commentaries explain that it's not Tzorei / tragedy, it's Rik Vehevel, futility. It has no meaning for the Jews. Goyim are fighting between themselves, gathering and talking, but it's all ineffective. Why? Because he who sits in heaven laughs and mocks them. Hashem is instigating Egyptians among themselves and different nations between them. Then comes the question, how should a Jew view this? We have the decree from the Torah that even though nations are gathering and talking negatively, still for the Jews it has absolutely no meaning. But not because of our own strength, God forbid, but because he who sits in heaven laughs and mocks them, and that's why it's not affecting the Jews. They call it tragedy, God forbid. The nations come up with different ideas, but it's all hevel larik, futility. Why? Because Hashem is with us. The fact that they are gathering, Jewish people know it's all pointless, because he who sits in heaven laughs and mocks them. He's not just notifying, but he is mocking and laughing at them. As it says, he who touches them, he is touching the apple of my eye. That's what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is saying about the 7th year. He's talking about the year of the coming Mashiach. Right at the end of the 7 years of wars, Mashiach comes. Which wars? The ones where nations gather and speak futility. The story of Egypt, the story of Afghanistan, this is at that time. Another story, that fight, another fight. But in relation to Jews, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Why? Because Jews are connected with the guardian of the Jews. Then he sees in a revealed way that Hashem in heaven laughs and mocks them, and the war of Gog and Magog is not affecting the Jewish people. Gog is fighting with Magog, and it says in Tanakh that it will be in Jerusalem. But that has nothing to do with Jewishness in Jerusalem, and not in the city of Jerusalem. You notice they're trying to have a negotiation over there. What's his name asked to come for a negotiation. Amazing. And not in the city of Jerusalem, rather it's around Jerusalem. The Jews are standing strong because Jerusalem is a city where King David lived, and the name Yerushalayim comes from the word Yeros Hashem Shlema, which means complete fear of God. You notice that if they're going to have a negotiation, it's not going to be the old city. It's going to be somewhere, whatever, new city somewhere, near the Knesset maybe, I don't know. And the Jews who are complete God-fearing people bring it into actuality, and the city of Jerusalem will stay untouched. The nations are Utsu Eitza, contriving a scheme. When the Jewish children behave in a manner of Ki Immanuel, God is with us, then Dabru Davar Velo Yakum. Their conspired plot.
That's the Lubavitch. That's the end of davening.
Yeah.
Chabad.
Altira Mipahapita. Yeah. Altira. Yeah. Their conspired plot. Yeah, their conspired plot will not be materialized. That's it. Yeah, I see that somebody wrote, I wonder if it means the peace talks in Jerusalem with Bennett. There you go. Somebody wrote that. It's funny. They hopped the same thing. It's interesting. Can I read to you the famous Gematria story of the Purim code? We spoke about this, but let's do it again since it's almost Purim. It's almost Tanis Esther, like tomorrow morning. So Okay.
Dude, we gotta do 60, right? So
Yeah.
do you have the book, the number book?
I don't have that book. I mean, I didn't go to. It's in my parents.
Okay.
Do you have it?
Okay. I have it. That means I have to get up.
Okay. In the words of English people, I can't be asked. I can't be asked. Can't be asked. Dude, Joe Rogan interviewed that Sadhguru guy. Sadhguru. Yeah, that guy with a white turban, Indian guy.
I don't know that guy.
Joe Rogan is a spiritual guy. He interviewed this
Oh,
Sadhguru.
Sadhguru. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
my
the-
friend Puneet told me about that guy a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, he interviewed him. Maybe he can interview your brother soon. Who knows?
No, I mean interviewing an Indian guy. That's one thing. That's enlightened. That's diverse.
Yes.
But a Jewish guy with a beard. Come on. Man.
Yes. Oh my god. No, so let me read this thing about Purim.
Okay.
There is a famous quote in Megillat Esther, toward the end of the story. King Ahasuerus allows the Jews to avenge themselves of their enemies on the 13th day of Adar. In Shushan, the capital, the Jews kill 500 men and hang Haman's 10 sons on the gallows. Queen Esther then approaches the king with an additional request. Allow the Jews who are in Shushan to do tomorrow as they did today, and let the 10 sons of Haman be hanged on the gallows. It's curious that she would request the hanging of Haman's already slain sons. Nevertheless, the king complies. The Hebrew word for tomorrow, mahar, occasionally refers to the distant future. Further, the sages tell us that whenever the word king appears in the Megillah, it alludes to the King of Kings as well. Capital K. Thus, the verse could be understood as a request by Esther to God to again hang the 10 sons of Haman at some point in the distant future. Now, when the Megillah lists the 10 sons of Haman, during their hanging, there are a number of unusually sized letters. There's a tradition to write certain letters in the Torah larger or smaller than the standard size. According to the most accepted tradition, there's a large Vav, numerical value of 6, and a small Tav, 400, Shin, 300, and Zayin, 7. The following suggestion has been made. The large Vav refers to the 6th millennium of Hebrew calendar. The small letters refer to year 707 of that millennium. The meaning then is that God agreed to hang Haman's 10 sons again in the year 5707, which equals 1946 and 47, according to the secular calendar. When listing the 10 sons of Haman who were hanged, 3 letters, namely Tav, Shin, and Zayin, are written smaller than the rest. Most printed texts reflect this. If yours doesn't, look at another. The commentaries offer no explanation for this other than that it is a prophecy. The letters Tav, Shin, Zayin represent the Hebrew year 5707, corresponding to the secular year 1946-1947. On October 16th, 1947, the 21st of Tishrei, I guess Hoshana Rabbah, 5707, 10 convicted Nazi war criminals were hanged in Nuremberg. And 11th, Hermann Göring, a transvestite, committed suicide in his cell. The Midrash tells us that Haman also had a daughter who committed suicide. As if the parallel were not obvious enough, without further corroboration, Nazi Julius Streicher's last words were Purim Fest 1946. In case you question the accuracy of Streicher's last words, they are well documented. They appeared in Newsweek, October 28, 1946.
On the front page of newspapers.
It's crazy. It is fairly safe to assume that A, Streicher did not know about the 3 small letters in the Megillah. B, he did not know that these letters corresponded to the year in which he was being hanged. And C, even had he known, he would have had no motivation to reinforce the validity of Jewish texts, traditions, or prophecies. One could not ask for a more independent confirmation of all-encompassing knowledge to be found in the Sifrei Tanakh. Rabbi Weissmandel, a great Hungarian scholar and Holocaust survivor, made a number of findings concerning Megillat Esther using skip distance of 12,111 letters, the exact number of letters in Megillat Esther. If one starts with the first regular mem, as opposed to the final mem, in Bereshis, where the name Esther, vocalized differently, appears for the only time in the Torah, and count at the intervals of 12,111 letters, one finds spelled out the phrase Megillat Esther. Coincidence? I think not. Interesting.
Yeah, that was the second code.
What's this?
That the thing is, the numbers are a little bit off. In that, what were the numbers again?
No, the numbers were Vav, 6, Tav 400, Shin 300.
No, the skip. No, the skip.
The skip is 12,111. 12,111.
Right. That may not be accurate.
Okay.
There's actually another figure when I was doing research on this, because what I'm trying to say is that number is pretty close to the actual number that the code is based on. It just may not be that specific number, because I heard somebody screwed up the story, and then it kept circulating with the wrong number. So people, and that's bad, because when people decide to check it, they're like, really? That code, that's the number? And then let's say you got some guy like me who's going to start counting, okay, just to make sure it's real. And then if you got the wrong number, you're going to see it's not, you're going to be discouraged, but that's not the right number. Let me see if I can find it. 1 second. This is important. You opened up a can of worms, Greg. Look what you did.
Yes.
Purim code.
By the way, man, we're over 3 hours now. 3 hours and 10 minutes. That's okay.
Well, we're making up a little bit. Okay, hold on. Purim codes. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Okay, Torah codes, Megillah Esther, Parsha. Yeah. Okay. So, can I read it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, so Torah codes in Megillah Esther. This people could see this at Parsha blog. Okay. So, Torah codes in Megillah Esther. So it begins. Quote, now it came to pass in the days of Achashverosh. This is Achashverosh, who reigned from India even unto Ethiopia over 127 provinces. That in those days, when the king Achashverosh sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the castle. Okay, so let's see. Second. The text of Esther, Rabbah in question. Hold on. It strongly implies that the author of Midrash Esther Rabbati, for him the word Malkuto. Hold on a second. An example concerning Megillah Esther. Finally, it starts here. Perhaps even more amazingly, given that Rabbi Weissmandel, whom Greg mentioned earlier, was operating without benefit of a computer. See, this is the kind of people we were talking about. This is what a rabbi is. Okay? He has a computer in his head. Okay? So it is known that he made a number of findings concerning Megillat Esther using skip distances of 12,111 letters. Okay? Which is the exact number of letters in Megillat Esther, in the book of Esther. I was able to reconstruct one of these using a computer. If one starts with the first regular mem as opposed to the final mem, okay, in Bereshit chapter 4, verse 14, where the name Esther, vocalized differently, appears for the only time in the Torah and counts at intervals of 12,111 letters. One finds spelled out the phrase Megillat Esther. That's what you talked about, right?
Yeah.
So this is that's a quote actually from Doron Witztum, Jewish Action, March 1998. Note, while the article may give the impression there is a single 8-letter ELS. I wish I could remember what that stood for. ELS has something to do with skip. ELS, do you remember like letter skip? I don't remember what the E stands for. Okay, but anyway, so I'll say it again. No, the article may give the impression there's a single 8-letter ELS with skip of 12,111. There's only a 4-letter ELS with the skip, with that skip, and a plain text occurrence of the same of the name Esther. Okay, so I've seen this put forth. Here's what I was referring to. I've seen this put forth in an accidentally, slightly misleading way, that what was spelled out was Megillat Esther rather than the short four-letter Megillat. Okay?
Yeah.
So Rabbi Weissmandl, a great Hungarian scholar and Holocaust survivor, made a number of findings concerning Megillat Esther, skip distance 12,111. Okay? One second. So this was not the blogger's fault. She was echoing the article which gave the false impression that there was a single 8-letter ELS with a skip of 12,111. Okay? While really there was only a 4-letter ELS with a skip of 12,111, which spells the word Megillat. Okay, fine. So that it is 4 letters rather than the Male spelled 5 letters. Okay, so generally Megillat is spelled Mem Gimel Yud Lamed Tet. So that's 5 letters, right? Mm-hmm. But whenever you have a Vav or a Yud in a word, right? That word can be written grammatically correctly without the Yud or the Vav. It's a grammatical rule, I guess, which is called Haser Umale, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the code that we find is the word Megillat, but without the Yud, which is the correct way. You'll find that written correctly in other places, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a legitimate way of writing the word Megillat. Okay, that's really important. Okay, I know this is boring and dry, but
it's not
people
boring.
have to know the truth.
It's not boring at all.
Okay. So, though I would have expected, one second. So, again, that it is 4 letters rather than the Male, the full way of spelling, the 5-letter way of spelling Megillat, the Yud, is okay, right? That's okay, given that in the few times the word is spelled. In Tanakh, it is actually without the Yud. So when we actually see the word Megillat in Tanakh, it's without the Yud. Okay, just like Yaakov, right? Most of the time you see Yaakov, there's no Vav, even though that's the correct spelling of his name. The majority of times you see the name Yaakov, it's without the Vav. So this is a regular occurrence, and it would be more appropriate.
Yeah.
Though I would have expected Male, and the 5-letter ELS would have made it less likely for the word to come about by mere chance. Nah, that's not true. Okay, anyway, there is another Torah code from Mordechai, okay, the word Mordechai, from Rabbi Weissmandl, with a 12,111 skip based on the word, 12,111 skips, okay, based on the words Mor Deror, right? Sounds like Mordor from Lord of the Rings, but Mor Deror, right? Those are 2 words, which Chazal, the rabbis, use as a remez. It's an allusion to Mordechai in the Torah, right? There is another with Esther spelled out at skips of 12,111 from the beginning of Torah. Okay, so here is the story, though with a slightly different number. This is the number that most people got when they heard the story. Okay? It's 12,196. That's the incorrect number for the skip in the code. Okay? So the number is which number did you read when you were reading the story?
12,111.
Okay, so all right, so my bad. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because this kind of stuff could make or break. You know what I mean?
That's true. You got to be precise with these things. Yeah.
You got to be precise because people get all inspired, right? They're like, really? Wow, that's amazing! Like that, and then when they decide to check it and it doesn't add up, you feel like you've been cheated and lied to. Like, okay, another disappointment. You know what I mean? Yep. So you got to be careful with the gematria.
Yep.
The math is precise, but you got to be right about it.
Yep. Space.
And with that, I will let Greg do what he does.
No,
fall asleep.
Well, no, I'm not falling asleep at all. I was listening to you. So you want to do 60 or you don't want to do 60? We can do 60 next time. Well, 60 is today.
60s today. So you know what? Let me just grab.
Let's do it quick, and then we'll wrap up.
I'm sorry, Squeaky. I'm sorry. You were about to settle down on my leg, but I'm not your furniture. Okay.
Squeaky is one of Frank's cats. And for those of you folks at home,
Squeaky is very special.
He's apparently very squeaky.
It's very, very, very special.
Is he actually squeaky? Does he squeak?
It's a she.
Oh, she squeaks.
She squeaks.
That's cool.
Even though she kind of whines really, but she was squeaking when I called her that. She was a kitten. I found her outside Bally's in a box. She fit in the palm of my hand, like easily, very small. Okay, where the hell is book? Why is it hiding from me? I will find it. I will find it, and I will read it.
I will find you, and I will kill you.
Yes.
You have a particular set of skills.
But different.
Yes.
I'm going to start cursing in a minute.
Yeah.
And that's going to undo all the good that we are trying to do, but that's how we roll.
Yeah, we don't want that. So,
I'm yell at my wife because I'm in the habit of blaming everything on her. Okay.
Huh.
I recommend that. It helps.
It's
right when you get married, just blame your wife.
Yeah. Listen,
that's the right way to go.
Of course it is. Listen, I think at this point I've lived with two women. I was engaged once.
Sinner.
So no, I basically was like, quote unquote, lived the life of a married man twice, and I was engaged once. So people are like, oh, how come you're not married at 41? I'm like, I already went through the freaking gambit from age like, if you think about it, from age like 24 until, basically 34. That whole stretch of time.
You put your time in.
Yeah. No, I served my time, you know what I mean? And then in the what's it called? But obviously that doesn't mean I shouldn't be striving to be married, but it's not like I haven't, some of these people, like you meet them, like some of these people who grew up from, they're like still in their late 30s, early 40s, usually guys, like single, also girls, and they've just never been anything with anybody, Maybe a few of them were engaged, but like, dude, in my case, I had a whole other life before I was Baal Tshuva of where I dated somebody for 2.5 years, I dated another person for 1.5 years, lived with both people. Not to say that it's the best idea, but in general to do that. But essentially, you could say I was married, effectively speaking. Most people don't know this. But one of them was
If only you could accumulate like credit points.
Most the people don't know this. I think I told you this. One of them was pregnant, and we lost a kid. I told you this, right?
Yeah.
At 7.5 months, ladies and gentlemen, somebody I was with had a stillbirth, and it's actually not the reason we broke up. Actually, there was just other things. But actually, a rabbi who I met with, he told me, he's wearing like he's a Baal Tshuva who became very Hasidish. And he goes to me, you're probably never going to... And he knew the girl. He met the girl because we were doing like couples counseling. And he told me, you're probably never going to hear this from a person who looks like me, who dresses like me, but Hashem saved your ass. And I was like, on the one hand, it's pretty sad to hear because it's like nobody wants to lose a kid, But on the other hand, like, what he said is, I can't deny.
Was that about the girl? Like,
it was about the girl because I would have had a kid with this person and she didn't want to live. It was like I'm Jerusalem and she's Tel Aviv. She didn't want to live a Torah life. On top of that, she's a big leftist. At that time, I could palate, I could stomach. You could find a common ground with a person like that at that time. We're talking 2010, 2011, those years.
I don't know, Greg. Miracles can happen.
Miracles happen.
I'm sure God could have figured out a way to make it work.
Of course he could have. Listen, I have a friend who had a kid at the same time as I should have had one. And he was my first Hevrusa and Yeshiva. And I looked at this guy, I was like, wow. Hashem gave me a glimpse into what my life would have been, because the mother of his daughter, they're divorced. Actually in her case, she started out being religious and then she stopped. Listen, a lot of these girls, they go to these, these seminaries, and then I could say, not all of them, but a lot of them drop off, especially the ones that don't get married. Because a lot of it revolves around having a married life, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's really what it is. And if you go and you learn and you this and you that, you're a girl, right? And you don't...
Do you think that they... I don't know what they learn in seminaries, but do you think that it's the emphasis on having a relationship with God is primary, or it's just something that they hear as lip service?
I don't know. I think a lot of it is very, what I call cute. A lot of it has been turned into kitschy, what I call kitschy spirituality. Would you like to give me...
It seems like someone hired... Yeah. Like a
marketing.
Advertising agent.
Yes, it's a marketing.
To design Judaism.
Yes,
nowadays.
Yes. Can I read to you just like something? It's something from like whatever. It's a girl I know. She actually ended up getting married, but
a marketing. What I meant to say, marketing.
Yeah, this girl she's about Shuva. She became like if the Cure of World was to hire. I think she was hired at some point. She would make posts like that. Oh, okay. She doesn't have. It's not a public. Here. Just give me a second. And I was like reading these posts, and I'm like, I mean, I guess it's cool, but it's so like you're turning things like the Baal Shem Tov into like a whole advertisement. You know what I mean? Here. Here. Here's a post of like. Hold on a second. Okay, Leviah, Jonathan Sachs. Yeah, see, he says, everything is perpetually Baal Shem Tov, good, Ramchal elevating, Rav Kook being fixed, Leshem coming back to life, Ishbitz clarifying itself, Gra, part of the unfolding Torah, Rabbi Nachman renewed, Balatanya revealed, Komarna unifying itself in new ways. I mean, these are all amazing ideas, but like this person is posting like, 2-word sentences about the philosophies of some of the biggest rabbis. They're like trying to distill down into 2 words. It just, they turned Judaism into kitsch.
Yeah, it's, yeah. There's nothing more to say about that.
Exactly.
But I found it. I found the book. I got it.
Yeah. All right, so let's do 60 real quick.
Okay.
Or fast, or slow, however you want.
I can do it either way. Yeah. Jewish Wisdom in the Numbers, the book, okay, and it's written by Osher Chaim Levine with Rabbi Yehoshua Hartman.
Yes.
Okay, so this number 60. Okay. From 6 to 60. The number 60 relates to the symbolism of the number 6. We've noted that 6 is associated with the complete physical expression in the natural world. Okay, I'm assuming that has something to do with God creating the world in 6.
6 days, yeah.
The completed, finished creation was, God did it in 6. So 6 has that that element to it. Yeah. Okay, this state of completion is more fully represented in the number 60, right? Because what is 60? Just 6 amplified to the higher place value. Here, the natural world that opens up into 6 directions. Okay, there are 6 directions, which means up, down, like you have up, down, left, right, and back and forth.
Yeah. So, okay. Left, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So basically, it's like the 3 dimensions of space, but each dimension going in 2 directions. So that's 2 times 3, 6. Yeah. Another thing is that you can encompass. This is actually not from the book. you can encompass any physical object in a six-sided box, meaning like any physical object, regardless of its size, can be enclosed within a box.
Yeah.
The idea of a box is associated with being part of this world. Right? Any object can fit inside some magnitude of a six-sided box. Okay. All right. So, so one more time. This state of completion is most fully represented in number 60. Here, the natural world that opens up into 6 directions, denoted by the number 6, conceptually expands to reach a state of wholeness, which is symbolized by the number 10. Because of 10 sphere of, this 10 system that God built into the creation, right? 10 digits. So 6, which is the number that represents the completion of creation, put together with 10, the number that represents completion in general, right? Even that above creation. So 6 times 10 is 60. So the fullness of 60 as the expansion of 6 is meaningfully reflected in one of its mathematical properties. 60 is the first number that is a factor of all numbers from 1 through 6. You heard that, Greg?
Yes.
What does that mean?
60 is a number. It's basically like 2 times. Wait, say it again. It's 60 is a number.
So here's what it means. 1 times 60 is 60. 2 times 30. 60. 3 times 20 is 60.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. 4 times 15 is 60.
Yeah.
5 times 12 is 60, and 6 times 10 is 60.
Yeah.
So basically, the description of that again is the fullness of 60 as the expansion of 6 is meaningfully reflected in one of its mathematical properties. 60 is the first number that is a factor of all numbers from 1 through 6.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yes. Meaning, like in the multiplication tables of 1 through 6, there's a 60.
Yeah.
And that's unique, folks. That's not true with any other number, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So 60 is the age of seniority.
Makes sense.
The Jewish census. What did you say?
It makes sense. It's not 65. It's 60. That's interesting.
We keep hearing 20 to 60, right? So
yeah.
So the Jewish census in the wilderness only counted those individuals who could be enlisted to serve in the army.
There you go.
Every man.
Ukraine, 18 to 60.
Yeah. Every man between the ages of 20 and 60.
I wonder if they took that from this.
I mean, it's almost like
it's intuitive.
Makes sense,
Yeah.
Like who, like 60 is already, past the point where, not past the point, but you're approaching the point where a guy can be physically in the way, not a help, but interfere.
Unless he's like old man strength guy, those guys.
Right. No, there's a lot of guys like that, but on average, it kind of begins to deteriorate.
Yes, correct.
So here, the upper end of the count was 60, right? From 20 to 60. So 60 was the upper limit of that. So this identical age bracket was also used in the laws of consecrating arachim, which are valuations, right? When someone pledged the monetary value of a particular person as a gift to the temple, the Torah specifies fixed monetary amounts based on gender and age. One bracket designated for a person between the ages of 20 and 60. Okay? Just as 6 signifies the extent of man's productivity in his labors, right, during the 6 days of the week, 60 is similarly the age limit of man's productivity in terms of years in the physical world, right? So indeed, the Mishnah characterizes 60 as the age of Zikna. Oh, I can't see it. It's so small. Man. Zikna.
Yeah.
Zikne. Right?
Yeah.
Zikne, seniority. Actually, Zikne. Senior. Okay? So 60 is the age of seniority. Now, surviving past 60 is considered a milestone in human life. It indicates that a person has not warranted the heavenly punishment of premature death. The word zaken is a contraction of the words ze shekana, the one who has acquired wisdom. Okay? The weakening of the body means that the intellectual faculties of man can now take over and gain ascendancy. Which means basically your intellect has been developed to such an extent that it's kind of already moved past, it's supposed to have moved past the point of physical matters, that that your mind has been refined to such an extent that it begins to want to begin to dissociate from the body.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now 60. We have 60 tractates, right? Gemara. The expansion of 6, there are 6, excuse me, there's 6, what am I going to say? Not chapters, but there's 6 orders of the Mishnah, right? So the expansion of 6 into 60 is similarly apparent in the acquisition of the Torah wisdom in the oral Torah. So the Shisha Sidrei of the Mishnah, the 6 orders of the Mishnah that were formulated by Rabbi Yehuda the Prince in Roman times, Marcus Aurelius, Antoninus. Right? Yeah. So they were formulated, they were compiled. That's what he did. He compiled them, okay, in a standardized way. So this too serves as an extension. Actually, hold on, I skipped time. So the Mishnah that were formulated by Rabbi Yehuda the Prince are subdivided and arranged as a total of 60 Masechtot, 60 tractates, 60 volumes. This too serves as an extension of the Torah laws that are then to be enacted in the physical realm. The 60 tractates are the completed works of the 6 orders of the Mishnah. Okay, so that we have this 60 relationship occurring in multiple places. Mm-hmm. So the complete expression into the natural world within the number 6 extends to 60. Whereas 6 is completion on an individual scale, 60 is a synonym for the complete, the klal, in its dual meaning of general principle or communal. That's the klal. This is a legal, a legal device. Yeah. Okay? As such, it is the fitting number used to categorize the Jewish nation. So, 60 myriads, Klal. The number 60 relates to the full expression of Klal Yisrael, the Jewish congregation, right? Yeah. The congregation of Israel. The count of Israelites assembled at Sinai, as numbered in the category of men between the ages of 20 and 60, was 600,000 strong, often termed Shisha. They could have made it smaller. Shisha Ribo. Okay? 60 myriad. Yeah. The symbol of the collective general roots of Israel, right? The number 60 myriad was the hallmark of God's chosen nation. Okay? Significantly, this number is said to constitute the perfect, unified national identity of Israel. The Torah was not given to the Avos. Okay? Spiritual greatness notwithstanding, they did not constitute a nation. The divine revelation was exclusive to the Jewish people only after Israel came into existence as a klal. Right? So this is realized once they had reached a complete form as symbolized by their number of 60 myriads. Here, their national identity was established. Okay? All right. 60 priestly blessings. Another example of 60 applying to a communal setting found in the blessings bestowed by Aharon and the priests on the Jewish nation. Birkat Kohanim. The priestly blessings are composed of 3 verses, comprising a total of 60 letters. The blessings of Yaakov and Moshe. Do you know the priestly blessing?
Yes.
Shalom. That's 60 letters.
Yes.
Right? So the blessings of Yaakov and Moshe were customized to each individual tribe and highlighted each tribe's particular strengths and specific areas of development. By contrast, the blessings within Birkat Kohanim form a generic one-size-fits-all blessing. This would empower Israel as a whole community by identifying the criteria necessary to fulfill their potential. Then we have a question of identity. We've observed that 60 relates to the collective communal identity of the Jewish nation. The standing of an individual within the wider setting is often characterized by the relationship between the numbers 1 and 60. They respectively denote the interface between the individual and the community. I didn't get that at all. Did you get any of that?
No.
I read that, and it's almost like I didn't read it. Let me do that again. We have observed that 60 relates to the collective communal identity of the Jewish nation.
Interesting.
The standing of an individual within the wider setting is often characterized by the relationship between the numbers 1 and 60. They respectively denote the interface between the individual and the community. Now I understand why I didn't feel it, because it's like feels like nothing. It feels like something that could have been communicated in a much simpler way.
Yes.
And the main point gets lost in all the too verbose, and I don't know what they're focusing on.
Yeah, same.
Anyway, loss of identity, 60 to 1. The importance of the group calls for the individuality of each particular component to be subsumed in the face of the communal setting. Generally, the public concern identified with the number 60 is powerful enough to render the impact or presence of a prat, right? An individual component.
You said prat?
Until it no longer counts.
You said prat, but like private.
Like, no, prat, there's no V sound, just prat.
Yeah, no, I know. Like, I'm saying, like, the pratit, like...
Yeah.
Personal.
Yeah. So this just means like a detail, actually.
Yeah.
It's a detail of a larger thing. So this principle is beautifully found in halacha, in the laws of bitul, nullification, right? You bring this up very often, right?
Yeah.
Batel b'shishin, right? So here the greater quantity.
Oh yeah, that's right. There you go.
Yeah. Here the greater quantity is the factor that determines the entire status of a mixture of forbidden and permitted foods. The measure by which a prohibited food is nullified, right? Batel b'shishin, a ratio of 60 to 1 negates. Meaning, like, what that means is like this, folks. You know how like Jews are not allowed to eat milk and meat together, right? So imagine you got a big giant like pot, like ones that they use to cook like like lunch for entire platoons, right? All right. So you got these giant like pots, and they make like chili or some kind of whatever. Okay, and it's meat. Right, there's meat in there, so it's considered meat. Can't be mixed with dairy. So what happens if a drop of milk or some milk gets into there? Is it non-kosher? So
if it's less than 160,
not necessarily.
Then it's fine.
Not necessarily. If you actually know exactly how much milk fell in there, somebody saw it, right? And let's say if it was like a drop.
Yeah, that's more than batel b'shishin. That's fine.
Right, so that will not nullify the fitness. It's not the fitness, I guess that is a word. Whether or not the food is kosher. Okay, it's still considered. It could still be eaten because the amount of dairy that got in there was so minute that it was just completely nullified
Yeah.
to the rest of the food. So it didn't change its status as something that's kosher and meat. So that's basically what we're talking about. Okay, so actually he's gonna read it here. He's gonna exactly. Okay, so for example, if a piece of non-kosher meat accidentally falls into a pot of kosher meat, right? So not some non-kosher meat gets into a pot of kosher meat that contains 60 times the volume of this non-kosher meat, right? Then the food is deemed kosher, and the Jew may eat from the mixture. Okay?
Yeah.
Halachically, the identity of the individual forbidden food no longer exists, okay? Because it has become subsumed into the greater amount of 60 that comes to determine the collective status, okay? And then we have 1/60th, borderline of existence. We talk about sleeping, right? Sleeping is 1/60th death, right? So, okay, so the ratio of 60 to 1 sweeps away the identity of the opposing minority. Something that is no greater than a 60th of something else symbolically means that it exists as part of something greater, but only just. The Talmud lists many fascinating examples of matters that tangentially relate to each other. So Egypt is 1/60th of Cush. Cush. What did you say?
I said yes.
I've never heard this. Egypt is 1/60th of Cush. Cush is 1/60th of the world.
Huh.
The world is 1/60th of Gan.
Interesting.
Gan is 1/60th of Eden.
Interesting.
That's crazy. So Gan, so the world is something that fits into Gan.
Yeah.
Gan means garden, folks.
Yeah.
Like as in the Garden of Eden.
Sure.
Okay? But the Garden of Eden itself is 1/60th of Eden. And Eden is 1/60th of Gehenna, purgatory. So that is a...
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, listen. What is it? Sleep is 1/60th of death. Dreams are 1/60th of prophecy.
Right. Oh yeah, I didn't finish it.
Oh, okay, fine.
No, I did finish it. I did. Hold on. So that's the note says that note 20. Oh, that's from Gemara Pesachim. That's from a volume of the Talmud, which is called Pesachim. That was a quote from it. Okay. Obviously, it's a very, midrashic sounding statement.
Yeah.
That's why cats fighting. Okay. Yeah. They don't like midrashic sounding statements. Okay, so other illustrations include the idea that dreams are 1/60th of prophecy.
Yeah.
Sleep is 1/60th of death.
Yeah.
The weekly Shabbos is 1/60th of Olam Haba.
Yeah.
Fire is 1/60th of Gehenna. Yeah. And the sweetness of honey is 1/60th of man, which in English would be man.
And I like to say what we're experiencing today is 1/60th of all of these, all these horrible World War II and all these kind of things. It's 1/60th. We're going to experience, or even COVID is 1/60th of the plague.
What you mean to say is everything horrible that's happened through history, our generation is experiencing a little taste of it, 1/60th of it.
Correct. I've been saying that for the past 2 years.
Yes, you have. Yeah. Just as 60 is the age at which one reaches the upper limit of the Jewish census, right? 1/60th stands at the threshold of existence. So the proportion of 1 to 60 represents the lowest denomination that still retains a resemblance to and the slightest of connections with the entity to which it is compared.
Yeah.
Here, the individual component, 1, still belongs to and reflects the group 60. Yeah. Anything less than 1/60th would mean a loss of identity. Okay, so 60. Of public interest. Parallel to the principle of batal b'shishin, meaning nullification to the 60th, right? Mm-hmm. Where the individual sheds his identity before the whole, the individual Jew should similarly be willing to negate his personal interests and desires. Of course, the primary concern of any individual is his spiritual development. In the words of the Mishnah, quote, "If I am not concerned for myself, who will be concerned for me?
Yeah.
Right? Nevertheless, I think that's for Yelp, right?
Yeah.
Nevertheless, he must be willing to selflessly nullify his personal preference before the public need of the congregation. So the 60 myriads. 60 myriads is 600,000. Okay. So dedication to communal needs and the betterment of Klal Yisrael, right, the totality of Israel, must be a constant concern for every Jew who identifies with the Jewish congregation. That means not seeing himself exclusively as an individual, but to proudly identify himself as a member of the collective whole grouping of Klal Yisrael. Collective in the real sense, not the... That word collective kind of makes me shake a little bit. But
we have an allergy to these words, to this word.
Anyway, that's the end of the 60 section. And the next one, we're going to have to wait. It's 70. It goes from 60 to 70. Man, they really, cheated me out a lot of numbers in this book.
Well, sir, we're almost up on 4 hours.
Okay, so it's the...
I'm gonna call this.
/60.
I'm gonna call this episode 1/60th of idol worship.
Yeah, you put in a whole bunch of like keywords that people.
Yes. Of course.
Ukraine, Russia.
Of course.
Angel,
We're gonna get.
We gotta trick the folks.
Trick the folks at Google. At Schmoogle. Trick the Schmoogle. Schmoogle people.
Yeah.
And also the Schmumble as well.
The Schmumble.
Yeah, well, all these leftists are saying that One American News Network is going to be banned or something. I don't know. They're going after the They see that they're losing, so they're going after these conservative networks.
Right. I think all around that's good in general. I think that it's time to just get on the internet, break away from these networks.
Yeah.
That control everything. What's the point of being on a network when you can be on a free internet?
Exactly. Assuming the internet is still up and they don't screw with it. But
Well, I mean, we know we're gonna, even if they take it away, we're gonna get it back to learn Torah when Mashiach comes. So.
B'ezrat Hashem. All right, sir. It's been really real.
Jaman.
As always. And Purim Sameach, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe we'll do a Purim. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if we have the opportunity.
I would like to, because that's a drinking episode, and the last drinking episode was Yutes Kislev, and I thought that was hilarious.
So,
the drunker I got.
So we would have to do one, because tomorrow I'm going... I mean, we could do one either tomorrow afternoon. Actually, no, we won't be able to. Tomorrow afternoon's a fast. We can do one Purim day early.
Yeah.
If we're not hungover from the previous evening. We can do that.
I mean, that's not really a legitimate excuse. But
yeah, it's not. All right, sir.
All right, man.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out, and we'll see what happens.
Yes. That's what Keston likes to say. All right. Talk to you soon.
Jam on.
Later.
Jam on.